Defining Duke is brought to you by Chromadex. Did you know that one of the root causes of aging targets all of the cells in your bodies? Life cannot exist without NAD, an essential molecule found in all of your living cells. As you age, NAD can decline by as much as 50% due to exposure to several stressors, such as a lack of sleep, sun exposure, smoking and alcohol consumption, etc. This can have wide-ranging effects on your body and organs, especially as you age. For ladies and gentlemen who have not listened to Defining Duke, let it be known that myself and Lord Cognito preach one term on the show every episode, and that's health is wealth. And that's why I support True Niagen. Since taking True Niagen, my mind is at peace knowing that my cells are being taken care of by a brand that is backed by science. Right now, new customers can save 20% on their first purchase by going to trueniagen.com/Duke and use the code Duke. That's TRUNIAGEN.com/Duke, code Duke, to save 20% on your first purchase. trueniagen.com/Duke, code Duke. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast, is brought to you by, well, you. If you want to learn how to support the show, go to patreon.com/laststandmedia. Salutations, everybody. It is Maddie here, and welcome to episode 64 of Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast. Today, I'm joined by the breakfast man himself, Lord Cognito.
Yo, what's going on? Got Maddie up early. We recorded early.
I'm here. I'm live.
I know. I turned my boy into a day walker, sadly for this one. So, yo, he going through it right now, y'all.
I am.
But I appreciate him. Let him know that I appreciate him.
I
He put in this work for me. Just
when there's not two digits on the clock, I'm just definitely tired. That's all there is to it. I have to have two digits, and then even if it's like 9:59, I wake up. It's like I'm tired.
Yep. No, trust me, I feel you. I've been forced to convert, so not willingly, but I hear you.
Have you enjoyed your conversion? Like, now you're used to it? No, you still hate it?
If you put a gun in my head and say, yo, what would you prefer? I think me and you had this conversation, which is like, we're both kind of creatives and kind of have our best thoughts like at night, late, you know what I'm saying? Some of your best gaming at night. So it kind of paid me when I, started this gig, because at one point, the transition kind of hurt you. So yeah, if it was up to my choice, of course I'd go back to night.
Yeah, and it looks like YouTube's the same way, right? Because as we're recording this, YouTube's not working. My Tiny Tina Wonderlands review just dropped alongside everyone else's, and it's just like bombing, and it's just out of our hands. So that's fun. It looks like YouTube is not a daywalker either. So
yeah, clearly,
if you're listening to this, I would appreciate you, hunting it down, checking it out.
Go to his channel,
Help your boy out.
Hit the like button. Hit the like button. Oh, Mr. Matty Plays got that great review up right now.
Like the
Tiny Tina joint.
Yeah. We'll talk about that more in the show, though, in all seriousness.
No doubt.
With that, if you're new here, you want early access to this show, we're available over on patreon.com/laststandmedia, where episodes go live on Thursdays. They'll hit free feeds on Sunday, so you can listen whichever way you want. We're available on all feeds. Other than that, patrons also get Defining Duke Ultimate. We just dropped episode 60, which is a mailbag with your boy. 15 questions I went through, a lot of different ones on game development. We talked about Fallout. Of course we did.
Of course.
Yeah, we talked about a lot of different subjects. It was a really good time, and I really got into it. I kind of, usually I have the recording screen up so I know how long I'm going for, and I can keep track of if I'm rambling. I was like, let me hide all that and just talk. And I kind of went into my own world, and I came out, and it was an hour and 15 minutes later. So not bad.
Yeah, bro. I agree with you, man. Like, I low-key be loving the mailbag. It's like, shout out to like LSM community. Some of them had the really good questions and really informed, really thought-provoking. So yeah, salute to them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was very pleasantly surprised by the amount of write-ins we got, just because we were posting a lot this weekend for the Patreon. So thank you to everyone who participated. Just a couple of things before we begin. First off, you can get a free month of Paramount Plus with Xbox Game Pass. So just know that, because I know the Halo show is dropping, so you can take advantage of Game Pass perk and see it without really adding too many costs to your wallet.
I also wanted to put a correction in from last week. I talked about a indie game that was shown off at the Xbox Spring Game Spotlight, which is called Curse to Golf, and I mentioned how their courses are procedurally generated, but that was not true. So I wanted to make that clear for the record because that game looks awesome, and I know if you're like me, procedural generation might push you away. And then last and certainly least is Godfall's coming to Xbox in case you really care, but I would say don't. That is a Game Pass game through and through, if anything at all. So it's on the way. Just want to make sure it's noted in our show, right? We're not going to pretend news doesn't exist here, but we're not going to dedicate a show. We're not going to do that. All right. We got a lot of write-ins to this episode. Some of them are really coming from me, so I'm very excited to get to those. We'll start off with Wavy Kosher, who says, "What's good, Dukes? First time write-in, long-time listener. I started off listening to Sacred Symbols because I couldn't find a solid Xbox podcast to consume. When Colin said there was going to be an Xbox pod dropping on LSM, I was through the roof like you were for the TMNT collection and started listening to DD almost exclusively. I didn't know who Maddie was or who Carrick was, but you guys always kept me updated. But there's just something about the G27 Excognito connection that's pushing DD to greater heights. No question this time around. Just wanted to let you guys know that you're doing the damn thing and don't stop bringing the thunder. Have a manual save your game, even though autosave is enabled. Kind of day."
Yeah, I know about the save gremlins. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Yeah, shout out to Wavy Coach, man. Salute, because again, it means a lot. Love what 100%. We're doing right here. Me and Maddie was talking before and stuff. Just like, it's just really cool to see the feedback, right? So, yeah, man, I'm enjoying it, and we're gonna keep pushing. We got more stuff, cool things planned.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. We got another write-in here. This one's for all of my Mega Man Battle Network fans. Hypnopotamus writes in saying, "Hey, Duke Bros. First time write-in, long time listener to LSM since its inception, and Mr. Matty Play since the Fallout 4 days. First time hearing the Lord Ninja himself. But when Maddie was on with Jeremy, when Maddie was on with Jeremy, love the podcast even more since Cog has been brought into the LSM family. Also, much love goes out to the ILP crew that I found since Cog's been on. Would love to see ILP and LSM do a live event together at some point. I would too. That'd be cool." Okay. Yeah. Anyway, this is not a question, more of a recommendation to Maddie as he brought up his love for Mega Man Battle Network. I know One Step from Eden was recently enjoyed. More of this type of game, the Mega Man Battle Network style, are on the way. Next month on 420, End Cycle Versus will be released. Hero.exe and Grid Force are two more of these types of games in development. These are similar indie games, but it's nice to see this combat system not dying with the Mega Man Battle Network series. I just drove out of state for work with a full tank of gas and didn't realize I left my wallet at home until I got to the gas station to refill it. Kind of day. That's brutal. Oof, that hurts.
I heard, especially with the gas right there.
Yeah, that price
these gas prices is real, man.
Yeah, they got to stop. But
so, talk to me. What's up with this Mega Man Battle? What's up?
It's just a timeless combat system, man. And it was abandoned with the series, but we got some fans who are like, One Step from Eden's probably the most popular one. I have a Kickstarter backing on Hero.exe, which also is kind of like One Step from Eden in a lot of ways, but it's this grid-based, real-time, turn-based sort of game where you have like a bunch of powers that are loaded up and you can let a certain amount go in a turn as it like regenerates, and you're actively avoiding attacks on this grid in real time. So it's really different. I don't know how they concepted it and designed it, where they like pitched it as a certain thing, but it works really well. And it was created by Battle Network, and it was so good that they made 6 games in that series. So
salute.
There's that. Technically 9 if you include Star Force, which was the DS spiritual successor, and they turned the camera position behind Mega Man instead of to the side, but I could go on. I'm not going to. All right. This one's kind of interesting because I tested this out, and I can confirm there is a difference. Jeremy S. writes in, "Dukes, this isn't a question, but more of a PSA that Microsoft recently implemented improvements to xCloud specifically for iOS last week. As someone who has previously balked at the service due to its lagginess and poor quality, I can vouch that it is indeed a night and day improvement. It may not be the best way to play your games, but I've enjoyed turn-based games such as Slay the Spire, particularly given that it's supporting touch controls. I'm just damn impressed with this service. Thanks, and have a burnt your mouth with hot coffee, thus ruining the taste buds for the next 48 hours kind of day." You've been through that?
That joint hurt. Yo,
Yeah.
I hate it. You know what it sucks is when you really want to drink something and you know what I'm saying? Like, you're like, dang, like, ooh, and then that burnt, you're done. You're done. You salute to Jeremy, man. Yeah, like this is good information. Obviously, I'm Team Android, so I would know
Yeah,
these
when
things.
you text me and I see that green, man, I'm like, nah.
I know you bougie iOS
Yeah.
folks. This is an Apple home.
It is. It absolutely is.
I know how you do.
I got my Apple Pencil in front of me, my
Oh, boy.
iPad with my show notes, my iPhone to my side, and my Apple Watch is over in its charger for when I'm going to work out, man. Like,
respect.
Y'all on the Android side of things are just losing in life. I don't know how else to put it.
Listen, we rebels against the system.
Yeah, it just feels like a statement. Like you can't just have a phone. Like you have to you don't preach it, but there are a lot of people who just preach that they're like very anti-Apple. I'm like, why? They're doing great.
All right, I'm gonna be real with you. Side note, tangent. I don't hate them in the sense of like I'm not anti-Apple. It's just that and the products are cool. It's just that I never started, and for some reason I just never started in the ecosystem. You know what I'm saying? Like everyone I know had one, but I always had like an Android. Yeah. So I think I know what it is. The techie in me likes the freedom part of the apps. That's what it is. Right. But anyway, side note. Back
I'm a convert, so
yeah.
I was Android. I had the Droid X. That shit sucked, and so I moved on over to Apple. It was great.
I will say there are some products that clearly Apple is still by far the leader in, and everybody else is just following. But to his question as far as iOS and xCloud, this is cool to see because the thing that I was concerned overall is that they had to go through the back end and use kind of like the browser as opposed to like a local implementation of xCloud. So to see that this is even improved, right? The browser aspect, and people are performing, reporting good performance. That's encouraging. So I know you said you kind of had some experience.
Yeah, I gave it a test once I saw this. I was just sitting here while video is rendering. I was like, all right, let's see how it works, right? Because my home internet's not superb, right? So I gave it a rip, and it was actually pretty good. It was always good for me, but definitely an improvement. More responsiveness, less hookups, all that stuff. So
good.
Or hangups, not hookups. Yeah. It's early, but anyway, we got some more write-ins here. This is where everyone's starting to come for me.
Let's go.
You can just put your feet up and just enjoy
Let's
the
go.
bloodbath.
I want to hear the smoke. I'm here for this.
Dan XL writes in, hey boys, Maddie, I have a serious correction. In my response to my question last week, you casually referred to boneless chicken wings as chicken wings, when in reality they are closer to chicken nuggets or chicken tenders. Please have some respect for the sacred chicken wing and stop misrepresenting what is essentially chicken mush. Cheers and have a great day. This is interesting. Do you agree with the sentiment that it's not a wing because there's no bone in there? That's effectively a nugget at that point?
Might have to go with Dan XL on this.
Really? I never thought of it that way. I guess there's some merit to it, but I never thought of it that way.
Yeah, because it's like I don't know,
shape, right? We're talking about the shape.
It's like a novelty item because it's like without the wing, it really is a whole different feel. It's a different vibe. That's just me. You know what I mean? But they coming for you, bro. What's going on?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have much of a response to this one other than if we want to get into semantics about chicken wings, we can. I think it's again the shape, right? Like it's in the wing family. One has the bone, one does not have it.
He said it like it's a animal.
Yeah. It's in the wing family. So boneless chicken wings. Yeah, that's how I'm gonna go with it. I'm not gonna imagine showing up to Buffalo Wild Wings when you're ordering from the boneless menu. You say chicken nuggets, chicken tenders. They'll bring you out chicken nuggets or chicken tenders. These are wings. It's a particular shape.
I can't. You really going down with the ship. I respect that.
100%. I got to die on this hill.
I respect it.
Mike Poe's up next in the Mr. Matty Bloodbath. He says, good day, Dukes. So there I was last week just driving home from work, listening to Defining Duke and going about my merry way. Imagine my shock and horror when out of nowhere, Matty shortens Hogwarts Legacy to HogLeg.
I like this one.
This filled me with such unspeakable, indescribable rage that I almost veered off the road. I hated it with every fiber of my being. How dare you, sir? This is gaming's first AAA Harry Potter open world RPG, not some limb of an animal. I have no question. I only ask that you apologize on air for this abbreviation abomination. Thank you for your time. Yeah, this one is real hit or miss for a lot of people. My friend group likes to jokingly abbreviate things, and it sometimes leaks into this show. And HogLeg, when it slipped, I didn't even realize it slipped. But HogLeg is something that we drop pretty frequently. And you know, a lot of people have like when I shared it with Lockmort, he was a big fan of this. He loved HogLeg.
Yeah.
But when Mike Poe is on the other side of the fence, there are people who are like, why? Just say Hogwarts Legacy. It's like, no, HogLeg.
Yeah, that's sacred for some people, man. He took it personally. It's the Michael Jordan me. He took it personally.
He
man,
did.
pulled over to the side of the ropes. And what he call it?
Had to catch his breath probably. He's like, whoa, what was that?
That
I wonder if anyone else, again, you know, not everyone remembers to write in a week later. So this truly bothered him, right? When
He ain't sleep off of this one.
But like, I'm sure there was a group of people, you know, we talked last week about, you know, the people listening to our show, just going about their lives. Did anyone else kind of jolt in their car a little bit? Or maybe they were like going about cooking dinner and they almost burnt their hand when they heard me say HogLeg. They're like, the hell was that? You know, someone broke into a cold sweat. Maybe Colin did. I don't know.
Now, what it is just a passion for the series. So it's probably like, you know, someone has a reverence, like it's sacred, right? So it's like that's his thing. So when he heard it, he's like, how dare you? I know people like that, they get like that, but come on, it's jokes, it's fun. You know what I'm saying? Relax, Mike.
I love it. All right, Simon is the last write-in. Speaking of which, we were just talking about, you know, people listen to our show, going about their business. He writes, my Dukes, just wanted to write in saying I appreciate the little moments where you guys are cognizant of the circumstances in which we, the listeners, consume the show. No, I'm not a FedEx driver, but I do make a lot of miles for work and love having you guys there with me during the good times, the bad, and boring ones, like when I'm getting my cog on at the gym. As a matter of fact, I'm sitting in a chair at a tattoo shop right now for 8 hours straight getting my Naruto sleeve tattooed because I'm a fucking weeb. Fortunately, I have the Duking Duo in my ears right now. So on behalf of all of us, thanks for the company during all of it. Have it, your girlfriend peeks around the corner. Oh, no. Have it, your girlfriend peeks around the corner of the gas station poop wall just a moment too soon kind of day.
Yo, he listened.
He listened. Yeah, he listened. That is a timely story here on the show.
That is a classic Duke story, man. He told me that when I was dying, man. Yeah, salute, man. This is cool, man. Shout out to Simon and just seeing everybody with the writers, you know what I'm saying? Because we've seen a lot of personal aspects to it and people really appreciating the vibe and stuff like that. That's dope. That's cool. And the fact that I remember little nuances like that, because I was dying when Maddie told me that.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's just a little bit of catch up with our audience. It's time to talk about what games we're playing, get into our warm-up questions, get into the news. We got a nice show ahead of us. So, Cog, would you like to go first?
Yeah, man. So I figured, you know, in lieu of a lot of shows about to drop, figure it's time to go back to Halo Infinite just a little bit, see what's going on, you know, play a little multiplayer. But actually, I went back to campaign just to start to work on some collectibles. I'm still not going to do the legendary mode because I'm saving that for co-op because of my concerns that there might not be anything to do in co-op when it does drop. So I've been doing that. And then what else? Oh, play shredders. Yeah, I might have to take the L on this one. I recommended that I was excited the previous Defining Duke, you know what I'm saying, about it. And Maddie, bro, this thing is trying to do too much with the banter and the jokes. Like, it is just very obnoxious. Like, when you start off the game, they're like doing this conversation and like it's like these fake excited snowboarders, but it's like a TV show. It's just the worst dialogue, and it's just like, can I just play the game? I just want to play the game. Like, literally, they stop, and you're talking to two dudes, and they're acting like you're this third person. And all right, the tutorial tries to teach you the game, but there's so much dialogue. And there's so much fake jokes and banter that it gets in the way of the experience. Like, I was just like, can I skip this kind of thing? And then I get to the game. And I'm like, all right, it looked cool. You know what I'm saying? Go and do my little slopes. Control system's a little weird. Not weird, but I guess it mimics true snowboarding. You hold down right trigger, you kind of crouch, and then you release to let it go. But then you got to hold left trigger to land and plant correctly. So I guess they try to mimic snowboarding on some level for the for the purists, you know, because I'm not a snowboarder, clearly. But there's another part that just gets in the way of the fun, because now I'm trying to do like the 180s, the 360s, and all of that, you know, the fly stuff, the cool stuff. And it was just, I don't know, it didn't feel as intuitive, the controls that I would have liked. The good part about it, the music is still banging, which is what my prediction. I thought it would be a cool joint, going through the slopes, hitting some nice track, kind of like techno pop kind of vibe. But then I saw some snow clipping. Well, yeah. So look, I can't like. It's in Game Pass. If you're a guy that loves these type of games, give it a shot. But let me know if the dialogue gets in the way of the experience, like the way it did for me.
That's very surprising to hear for a snowboarding game.
Bro, I'm like, why is there? It's like, you ever watch the best example I could give? My British piece by notice, like there's a car duo that's called like Top Gear, and these guys like run off each other. They do banter, and that's cool. They're trying to do like the snowboarding version of it, and it's just with bad jokes and bad comedic time. It's just bad. Anyway, go check it out. Let me know what y'all think. And there's other game I can't talk about that I am playing. You know what I'm saying? But we'll be talking about it soon.
Okay, looking forward to that. Yeah, so I'm continuing on with Triangle Strategy, and I'm loving this game, man. Easily one of my games of the year so far. I just, it is really delivered. I had a lot of hype for it because I love Octopath Traveler. I love this HD 2D art style that Square Enix does with these JRPGs, but the main story is great. It's one of the rare moments I can say where there are good characters in this game, but most stories are driven by their characters, where it's actually the plot and the world building and how these characters, these three kingdoms, are interacting in this war. It's really 16-bit Game of Thrones. It's so
that's what I heard.
so fun to track, and the choices are awesome in the scales of conviction. Like when everyone's having their own feelings about things, it's like one of the best representations in a game of like different party members having their own thoughts about certain events in the world, and you have to like try to convince them and coerce them to what pathway you want to go. And I had one choice that I tried to do that I actually I failed to guide my team like and get the result I wanted because everyone was not convinced by my argument. So I'm just really, really loving this game, man. It's delivering.
Hearing great things. Shout out to Lords of Gaming that day. Our guy Flame, he did a review on it. Absolutely love it. I think he was like a 9.8. Like he's loving it. And then Addict did a video review. Same thing. He same vibe. He's really enjoyed it. Game of Thrones.
The pacing's a little like it. It'll give you like at certain points when it gets deeper into the story, it stops that nonsense. But like early on, it'll give you. I'm not even kidding. You'll play for an hour just going through different cutscenes, dialogue before you actually go to a battle. Gotcha. It'll really have some poor pacing, especially early on, and that's not including the character stories that you could do on the side if you want to like. And again, these character stories are not side quests or like gameplay moments. They're just like dialogue for another 10 minutes. I just started skipping them. I'm not gonna lie. That's very much not me, but it was just too much. It was, it was really disrupting the already kind of poor pacing. Once I started doing that, you were easing into combat sessions a little more continuously, and I enjoyed it because the story does a decent enough job building out these characters. I'm not gonna act like me missing the character stories isn't a big deal, but it's definitely something that did not hamper my experience or my appreciation for the characters.
Okay, fair enough.
So Triangle Strategy has been good. The main one I've been playing though for review, the one that YouTube has silenced alongside many others, is Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, and I can't wait for the entire public to finally be able to see it because once I put my like final verdict on it, I was like, I know people aren't going to like this. Like I know people are going to fight me on this one for a while because I did not enjoy this. Now? I did, yeah, I know, right? I did not enjoy this one though. I did not enjoy Tiny Tina's Wonderlands because I said it like 4 times in my review. So if anyone's dumb enough to tell me I think it's bad, like I just know they didn't listen to it because I say a lot of times like it's not a bad game. It's not. It just left me very disappointed on 2 fronts. Number one is this is a spinoff. It has a lot of new ideas in place, and it's D&D based Borderlands game pretty much. And I'm looking at it like, okay, we're trying a new armor system now. They're putting amulets in the game, spell books. But to me, it just never quite gets a grasp of this new world it's in and makes full use of it. Like guns still feel and play the same. The character building structure I thought was almost so wide that it gets watered down rather than the focused skill trees of 4 preset characters. And each character has 3 skill trees that you can mix and match and make really interesting builds. Like I always go back to Borderlands 2 where like Zero could be this kind of cloaked crit god, or you could have the Gunzerker like spamming his ultimate ability, or I think Maya goes invisible. There's a lot of different options on how you could play these games, and what this game does is it exchanges out the preset for making your own character, so you customize their appearance. You go through a couple of creative class sections. You actually allocate stat points, so you'll upgrade your strength, your intelligence. And for me, on paper, the outside looking in, I was really excited about that because I thought, well, this is what I wanted. Like Borderlands 3, for those who don't know, for me, like on a gameplay level, I thought it was very fun. Because it did introduce a lot of new innovations on the gameplay front, but the story was just like terrible. And I'm sorry, but after Borderlands 2, like the expectations have been upped. Like you need to deliver funny writing and a good story. Borderlands 3, nah, like that did not hit at all on the story front. Writing front, I gotta use the word, it was cringy. And then honestly, same thing for the pre-sequel. So I thought like maybe these were rare misses, but with Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, the reason I never call it a bad game is number one, it's not, but number two is I don't think it's made for people like me. It's very, very, very accessible. And I think it's because in a day and age where you got like Destiny running around, right? You got all these other games that do loot explosions very well. And that was Borderlands' identity that they clinged onto for years because no one else was doing it. Yeah. But as companies figured out how to do it and then added new ideas on top of it, Borderlands started to miss out. And so for me personally, even something like Strangers of Paradise, a game that, I tried to really like, at least it gave me some new ideas with the loot explosions. This game feels like more of the same, which is fine because it's not bad. It's just familiar. But the changes they do make, I think, are not wise ones. Like I said, diluting the class structure, but also it kind of, to me, emphasized the issues that were already there that never improved. So things like the writing in this game, especially, are not good. It's just, I know it's not what we play Borderlands for, and I made sure to make that clear. But I went in on the writing in my review because I was like, this is not just like, oh, it's not funny. It's like, this is bad. This is not like this is because Borderlands. Gotta get on my soapbox a little bit here.
Now let's go. Let's talk. Let's talk.
Well, Borderlands is a series that, it was funny because it went to dark comedy. It wasn't afraid to make fun of people. And over the years, it's definitely backed off of that a little bit. Dare I say politically correct. That's fine if they really want to take it that route. But the reality is because they're so concerned with not offending anybody, they say nothing important at all. And so they just kind of exist, and these characters say these like I put clips of it in my review if YouTube ever allows you to see it, of like this girl calling me a cutie idiot, dummy, and I'm just like, this is childish. And that's when I came to the conclusion, I'm like, maybe this isn't for me. Maybe this isn't for me, a 26-year-old guy who's looking for the more, hardcore Borderlands. That's not there here. It's not. It's a perfect game. I said, if you're an adult looking for something for your kid or a young one, like this is perfect. It's co-op. It's safe. Like, you're not going to have like Destiny kids harassing them online. Like, this is a good get for that. But otherwise, as like a Borderlands fan, I was like, I was just disappointed. I was like, I don't know if I love this as much as I used to. I don't know if this is for me anymore. And it's rated T for teen. So again, I think like it's very clear where Gearbox was going with this. It feels like with that T for T rating, they were kind of handcuffed with things. And again, my personal gripes aside with the series direction, the reality is what I think matters to most people listening is I don't think when they tried this new D&D universe, they did enough with it. Like, for example, D&D is all about making choices and skill checks and rolling for initiative. And I don't think they played with D&D ideas enough at all. I really don't think they did. Like, not that I wanted a story with real choice and consequence, but the fact that wasn't even like an idea that seemingly was on the table here, that your skills aren't respected in fun new ways. It's not why I docked any points for it, but to me, I was like, this is what I'm talking about. Like, it's not doing enough with it. So you go to the guns that they do specialize in, and even the guns haven't been reinvented enough to feel like they're different from the ones in Borderlands 2, 3. So it's, again, not a bad game. I want to make that clear for people. I recommend, as always, watching other reviews for people who did like it, because I'm sure there are plenty who did. But like, I did Borderlands YouTube content before Borderlands 3 a lot. Like, you can go ahead and look. Like, I actually think I showed in the video. Like, I did a ton of it. So it's not like I'm just a flyby.
You get down with the series. No, this is very intriguing to me, and I haven't played it, but it definitely resonates with me because on two levels. One, if it is exactly what you said and the writing has gone in that direction, then that's troublesome because then they lose. To me, that sounds like they're losing the essence of what made them, right?
Mm-hmm.
The fearlessness to go on for, whatever it is. And I wonder if the climate, of correctness has done that, or maybe just they're constrained by that rating, right? And the rating now, they're like, hey, we got to quick question. Do we know off top what the other ratings were for like the other ones? Like, were they all teen as well? I'm just curious.
Double check
if the rating did change, because that's the only other thing. And then as far as the only thing I can speak to on the looter shooter stick, because a lot of the Borderlands fans, they come for me. They I'm a Destiny guy when it comes to the looter shooter wars, and they'll say like, yo, we the OG. You know what I'm saying? I'm always going to like, and respectfully, they
Borderlands
are the
3 was rated M. Sorry.
Okay, so there we go. I'm thinking about that ESRB constraint possibility. I'm wondering the decision.
It just felt very. If anyone listening plays the game, again, I'm not trying to steer you completely away from it. I gave it a wait for a sale, but like for me, it's just one of those things that like when you listen to the writing, it feels like a team actually with like one arm tied behind their back the whole time. Like it just they like cut themselves off and say weird, pointless shit the whole game, and not even like Borderlands weird. It's just I don't want to go all in on the writing because I know it's again not what everyone cares about, but I think it was a very important component to what made the series very charming. That balance of like, I'll just say I don't want to spoil it, but like in Borderlands 2, the Mordecai moment where you're like, yo, what did Handsome Jack just do?
Yeah,
Roland, like, what did Handsome Jack just do? There are moments like that where the game is actually like very emotional out of nowhere because you developed a connection to these characters because even though they were silent, you played as them, you got to know them, their little one-line quips, and then this next game they build off of it. And I didn't expect that to be here in Wonderlands, but I also didn't expect it to be just like this low of a bar, really.
No, fair enough. Great analysis, man.
Thank you. So that's out now. I had that for about a week and change, so I was able to play it, beat it. Took me 20-ish hours to complete the main story. A lot of side content, which is good too. So good bang for your buck. Good co-op, by the way. I want to praise it on that.
Nice.
So like, let's say Cog, you were to join me right now. Like you bought the game, you're like, I want to play with you, even though I'm level 20 or 30 something.
How they do it, scaling?
Yeah, they'll scale it to you. So like, let's say you join my game, you're level 1, I'm level 30. I'll fight level 30 enemies, you'll fight level 1 enemies. Doesn't matter where we're at in the game. So
cool.
That's a cool way for co-op to be really engaging, I think. Good design choice on that front.
Dope.
Defining Duke is brought to you by Chromadex. Did you know that one of the root causes of aging targets all the cells in your bodies? Life cannot exist without NAD, an essential molecule found in all of your living cells. As you age, NAD can decline by as much as 50% due to exposure to several stressors, such as a lack of sleep, sun exposure, smoking and alcohol consumption, etc. This can have wide-ranging effects on your body and organs, especially as you age. For ladies and gentlemen who have not listened to Defining Duke, let it be known that myself and Lord Cognito preach one term on the show every episode, and that's health is wealth. And that's why I support True Niagen. Discover True Niagen, one of the most advanced forms of inner body aging science that is proven to increase NAD. It is researched by the top scientific institutions in the world and has sold over 3 million bodies and has an excess of 200 published scientific studies to back it up. Since taking True Niagen, my mind is at peace knowing that my cells are being taken care of by a brand that is backed by science. Right now, new customers can save 20% on their first purchase by going to trueniagen.com/Duke and use the code Duke. That's TRUNIAGEN.com/Duke, code Duke, to save 20% on your first purchase. trueniagen.com/Duke, code Duke. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
All right, so that's what we're playing. Unless there's anything you want to add in there, we can move on to the warm-up questions.
Good. Let's get it.
All right, cool. Jake is our first write-in. Hello, Dukes. I recently had my gallbladder removed due to it causing me nerve pain, acid reflux, and a great deal of fatigue. Hopefully, I'll have more energy to be a father, husband, gamer, and be more physically active. So far, so good. Surgery was a success. Health is wealth. I just wanted to wish Jake well because he did tag us on Twitter saying he was listening to us prior to his surgery, which, like, dude, there's no greater honor than that, right?
Bro.
Like bringing comfort in a time like that. There's no greater honor than that.
Yeah, man. You felt that. He was like literally in the, the hospital on the surgery, prepping for his surgery, and he had us up there. And listen, man, it means a lot. And it's funny, we'll get into it, but I literally had that surgery.
Yeah.
I had my gallbladder. Yeah, I know it. So I hit him up, in the DM, and I was just like,
that's very
bro, I
nice,
know
man.
what it is. I will say this: anyone who's had it, and y'all gonna know what I'm talking about, you'll never look at your belly button the same.
Oh no, really?
Yeah, bro, real quick, because when they cut you, you're like, how did they do it?
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, yeah, we yanked that through your belly button when we cut you open. I'm like, what?
Oh.
Yeah, like I didn't know how because there's a decision, to get it. But bro, I could not believe that. And then your belly button has to heal for a while. It takes a while. You never look at your belly button the same, bro. It's like, how could you? Yeah, it's a crazy surgery, but yo, salute to you. Hopefully you do better. Continue.
Yeah, my grandma got hers removed, so
Yeah.
I'm somewhat familiar with it. I didn't know it came straight out of the belly button, though. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, laparoscopic.
Jake writes, this question is about Xbox's reach in Asia, as I used to live in Japan and spent a lot of yen at the Sega Building 2 in Akiba, stationed there as the U.S. Navy, and traveled to South Korea at least annually. One thing I noticed was the two countries had vastly different gaming styles. Japan seems to adore handhelds, whereas in Korea, PC gaming was huge. I saw StarCraft 2 posters everywhere, and internet cafes were loaded with StarCraft tournaments. Obviously, the Blizzard acquisition by Microsoft will now get a good footprint in Korea for the Xbox ecosystem. Now, what about Japan? It seems to me that buying a Japanese publisher will be harder to achieve considering the legal ramifications of an already $77 billion spent in growing the first-party portfolio. Does Xbox focus on xCloud, build a handheld, or does Shinji's Tango Gameworks become the pillar, i.e. Microsoft acquiring a Platinum Games or Japanese indie and putting them under the supervision of Tango? Keep up the positivity, and I hope you have your surgery was delayed so long that the pharmacy that had your pain meds is closed kind of day. Oh, that's frustrating. Oh, man.
No, bro, you got to get that ready.
Yeah.
That's serious. Good question, bro. Good question. Shout out to Jake. I actually agree with a lot of the suggestions he made. I mean, I think that first of all, salute to his experience over there in Asia and seeing how the culture is different, seeing how PC gaming, mobile, all that stuff. That's one thing I want to do. I've never been over there. I still on my gamer bucket list. I need to do that.
Japan, bro.
Yeah.
Japan. I need to get out in Japan.
I need it. Yeah. I feel like I'm not complete as a gamer. So one of them trips. So like I would say that, handheld's big over there. So xCloud, I think, is going to be the play. Ideally, I know me and Maddie want a dedicated handheld if possible, but I don't know if they, we'll see. I don't know if they're willing to make that commitment based on things we see, especially with the Steam Deck, and now they, trying to do things there. But we'll get into that. But I think that PC market is another thing. I think the Series S, it being small the way it is, the way kind of like physical home culture is, like they don't like big, bulky, like Xbox One like items. You know what I'm saying? But I do think the PC game market is one to look out to see how aggressive they go there. And also, to his last point, as far as the Japanese studio, I'm on Team Platinum, I'm on Team Acquire. And I think that we've seen signs that they're looking to really cultivate the indie relationships, and to the last point what Jake said about, which I agree in the sense that, the reviews are coming out for Ghostwire Tokyo, right? Clearly. But it's one of those things that if Shinji starts to do his thing and gets more influence, maybe they might have him, not say pivot, but more responsibility to kind of get more people in. So I'm curious to see how that relationship goes, stuff like that. But what do you think in reference to like Japan? What do you think they need to do? Like, what's your thought process?
I don't think I'll budge off this point until it starts to happen. But after seeing the numbers for the 360, it kind of just convinced me that my gut feeling was the correct one, which is like they need to just invest, like and I don't think it's gonna always be a studio space. Like I think they need to lock down games like PlayStation did, and that's why PlayStation's the dominant console amongst many other reasons in Japan. But like one of the driving reasons for that, beyond their handheld capabilities, was their ability to get like the important games that were Japanese, a Catherine, a Persona, so on and so forth. Like that is, Neo, The World Ends With You. There are just so many games that have come out for the Japanese audience that is very specific to them. And it's why they're picking up their systems, because they know it'll be available there. Right now, we're seeing Xbox do a little bit better, right? We're starting to see them be there day and date for certain games that you have that moment of like, oh, okay, they're having that there. Like, good. But to me, it's like, that if you want to grow there, you have to offer something that only those people in that region can get on your console, like a Lost Odyssey and Infinite Undiscovery, so on and so forth. That's why the 360 had 1.6 million console units sold in Japan. Now we're in an era with xCloud. So I think if you take that same 360 strategy and you apply it in a more accessible Xbox marketplace, which is what we have now with Game Pass, with xCloud, you have something that could easily double those numbers, easily, if you invest in the same way. So to me, that's what they've got to go out and do. That I hate to push for exclusivity, but if we want to talk about actually them growing the brand, we saw what worked and what didn't work, right? Xbox One was woefully bad. We saw in the original Xbox era what worked. They had Dead or Alive 3. What was the highest selling Xbox game ever? Dead or Alive 3. So games matter to everybody, right? And having them exclusive to one console matters. So being there with an accessible cloud-based service, a downloadable service, and saying this is exclusive to us, it's huge. I don't know if we had a write-in about it or not, but a good example is like their half measures. I mean, I see something like Edge of Eternity, and I'm like, okay, like this looks all right, but this isn't going to bring in that crowd. Like, it's just not going to. They're looking for the main ones, just like we here in the West are like Halo, Call of Duty, so on and so forth. Like, where's their Persona here on Xbox, right? That type of stuff is the drum I will continue to beat, because we don't have that here, and we're not consistent enough to say like we're Japan's console. And that's the big problem. And I think once you show that investment too, like you'll start to bring people in because they'll see a game and go, I want to play that. I'm going to get the system for it.
Right. I agree. I mean, I think your reasoning is the correct reasoning. I think it's even more so than mine. I think the issue, the reason why maybe it's not happening, at least the past generations, there were a few attempts. I just think that the vibe I get is the business minds look at the investment, and let's just say, let's use an example, the Lost Odyssey or whatever, even though that era may have been the most sales or whatever, they may look at it, well, look how much we invested and we got these games and we didn't really feel that we got the payoff based on the investment, which could very well be the case. But I will agree with you that it doesn't preclude you from so now you just give up and you're just not gonna do anything in the region. So I think it's your approach, which I think is the correct approach, which is you make sure that the platform does not miss out on all of these games, as well as exclusive games to the region that the culture is gonna gravitate towards. But I still am on the especially with the indie scene. I feel like if you get the up and coming group of developers, you know what I'm saying, like the new class, so to speak, and you get them to develop exclusively on a platform, and you lock them in, especially if you see that they got some bangers there, that can start to build something. And that's what I'm hoping this generation. It may never be what we want it to be, but I don't want them to not do your approach and the indie approach.
Yeah,
because that's how you're going to still keep some footing there and get some growth there. But we'll see.
Yeah, 100%. There's just a clear lacking in the region. I just want to see them go off.
Oh yeah, for sure.
All right, let's move on to number 2. Jake, best of luck in your recovery. Zachary Bryan writes, "Hey Dukes, could you make a tier list of your favorite sodas? If you don't drink soda anymore, try to remember your favorites from the past. If Sprite isn't at the top, you're doing it wrong. Have a I just got spaghetti in my Crocs kind of day." How does that even happen, man? Where are you putting your spaghetti? Come on. Come on, Zach.
Croc gang is outside. Put your Crocs up.
Nah, don't. Take them off. Take them off and throw them away. Come on now.
See, you got problems with spaghetti going on your look, man. Look, this is a good one. I do not drink soda anymore. But Same. Yeah, I had to stop. You know what's funny when you don't drink soda no more? When you either accidentally have it or are forced to drink it.
Doesn't hit the same.
Bro, don't you taste how much sugar is in it?
Yeah, it's sad. It's sad.
This is bad sweet, bro. It's almost like offensive how much sugar is in it. So yeah, salute to the non-soda drink. We gotta be careful, man. A lot of high fructose.
I'm a sparkling water guy now. That's how I get my soda fix. I have a little sparkling water when I want a soda, and it keeps me off, man. It keeps me off. Holds off the beast. Yes, refined. Yes, I hold up a pinky as I lift my Poland Spring bottle.
Get a little refined. Listen, this is a good question. Now, when I was in my soda bag, all right. Let me see if I can think about 2 that I liked for sure. I definitely like Mountain Dew. I was on some Mountain Dew joint. I remember I was always a Pepsi over Coke guy.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, I liked Pepsi.
That's the only way.
I prefer Pepsi. The third one kind of fluctuates. I don't mind the root beer stuff, but
Ooh.
I mean, it was okay. Like I remember trying. I was all right. It's not as bad as I thought it was gonna be. But I think the third one I'll go with a specialty flavor. Even though I'm a Pepsi guy, I ain't gonna front though. When Cherry Coke dropped, remember when Cherry Coke dropped?
Oh, I remember. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go on.
Sure. But yeah, Cherry Coke was a thing, man. It was a thing. It was a thing. So those are the three I'm going with. I don't mind Sprite. I don't mind stuff, but I consider that the Mountain Dew bag, and I think Mountain Dew is superior. I am a big Mountain Dew fan.
Yeah, Mountain Dew is the high school play for me. I drank it so much my teeth were stained yellow for some time. Just not good. Don't got not the Hollywood smile. Or I didn't have the Hollywood smile, but now I do. But yeah, it's so funny because you bring up like Cherry Coke, and like for me, I think just anything like Code Red, Cherry Coke, just stay the fuck away. Like I think they just taste horrible. When I see people drinking it, I'm like, what's your taste bud alignment like? Where that's you. I judge them a little bit. I'm like, why is this good to you? I'm like, what's good about that to you? Why do you want cherry flavor in a sugary acidic drink?
At the time,
this is the Android energy coming out. Come on.
See, there it go.
Yeah. You feel a little bougie when you got your Cherry Coke bottle. You're like, who's drinking this? Me. Only me.
Continue, sir. I want to hear this other, sir.
Orange soda, 100% at the top of the list.
Oh, I forget. Orange soda's fire.
Love orange soda, man. Just a wonderful blending of Sunkist, like a wonderful blending of kind of that breakfasty orange juice type of citrus with the bubbly sugariness of a soda. Hits just right every time, especially in the summer. Nothing better. Of course, we praise Mountain Dew in this building. Sprite, I got a funny story for. I love Sprite. It's also S tier. Sprite is something that this is probably one of the dumbest things I've ever done. So whenever I played hockey, my friends and I would go out to eat afterwards, after every game. And we would go to the diner and we'd sit there till like 4 a.m. and they'd give us free refills. And we drank like probably 5 to 6 glasses of Sprite afterwards. I'm like, so we just like sweat a ton of calories. We're getting into shape. And then we just, in 2 hours, it's gone. Like, it doesn't matter. Just destroy it and drink a ton of Sprite. Terrible. But one of my fondest memories. But yeah, Sprite, like I always think of that there. It's just, I always said I was on a lemon lime kick. That was my go-to lime. You know what?
Yeah, I might have to change my answer. Yeah. No, as much as Cherry Coke was a novelty item, you're killing me for that. I did like it, but now I ain't gonna fry. I gotta give Sprite an honorable mention when I started to peel away from soda. Sierra Mist. They're kind of like a Sprite. But they had like a diet one and whatever. It was actually pretty good. But no, I got it. After you've convinced me. Okay. You've convinced me. Yeah, I got it. Sprite got to get its respect.
All right, so I'm a loudmouth here, of course. But what is a bad soda to COG? Because clearly I've already spoken the word on Code Red, Cherry Coke. What's the word for COG on a soda you drank?
Bad.
You went, not for me.
Bad soda. I'm probably not as much the root beer guy. Like I tried it, but I'm not really, that. What was the main one? What's the one that was a mug? I forgot the name of it. The one that
A&W, I think.
A&W or something. I'm not that. There's a bunch of nasty soda. I'm trying to think which one's off top. I don't drink. It's been so long.
Yeah,
bro.
right.
So I'm trying to remember sodas now. Like, what other sodas?
You start to realize when you pull out of the game, right? You realize that they're all kind of the same.
Yeah.
Just slight variations. Hey, let's give an honorary mention to some dead and gone Mountain Dew flavors. Because they used to do those competitions over the summer where they'd have 3 flavors pop off and they'd be like, which one do you want? Somehow Code Red wins. Again, I don't know how. I think that's why I got something personal against Code Red because there was distortion in the mix. There was whiteout in the mix. These were some of the best Mountain Dew flavors ever. Like that was an emotional summer for me. And then I was playing MW2, distortion, whiteout. I was voting. I was so passionate about distortion soda, man.
I love this.
I thought Mountain Dew distortion was the wave. There's no way this loses. And then Code Red comes in and wins. And Code Red wins. skins, and I'm like, how? And now it's just there on the shelf still. I'm like, that could have been distortion. That could have been distortion.
That's what this is. Now we get into the heart of the Cherry Coke hate because of the Code Red. I get it now. I get it. They killed
There is an origin story.
Yep,
I had to warm up to it.
Bro, we gotta do the therapeutic thing. We gotta get to the root of the issue. Now I respect it though. Yeah, distortion was fire.
Yeah. Yes. Distortion lover.
Yeah,
yes.
distortion was fire. Have to give you that.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for writing in, Zachary. I'm sure people will take umbrage with some of my food takes again, or drink takes.
It's gonna be great. I can't wait for the responses on that one.
All right, Chris Marshall is our third write-in. Hey, Dukes. A few months back on ILP, Jason Ronald said that they had heard feedback about adding a platinum achievement to parallel the trophy system. He also mentioned updating the achievement system to reward people who only play online games and so on. He then dumped cold water on the topic by saying, sorry, I accidentally swiped up on my iPad, by saying there are a lot of factors to consider before they could implement these kind of changes to the achievement system. On top of that, Xbox has talked about updating the achievement system for years to no avail. Colin preaches the good word on how these kind of systems are important to consumers. In my own experience, I've purchased multi-plat games on PlayStation specifically because I want to earn the platinum. Me too, by the way. My question to you guys is twofold. Do you think we'll actually see these kinds of overhauls in the future? And if so, what other changes would you like to see? Thanks for all your great work you do here at LSM. Thank you, Chris.
Salute to Chris.
Cog, we've talked. Sorry, I didn't interrupt you there.
No, please, no, go.
I was already just ripping into it.
Let's get it. Let's get it.
I just want to say that I know we've talked about this a couple of times, but I feel like it's important to stay up on some topics, right? Like we have the opportunity to, I'm sure there are people from Xbox who listen to our show. I know for a fact a couple at least do, where we have the ability to connect and kind of remind them of what's important. Like it's not a flyby thing. Like, and I thought this was a good time to revisit it as it's been a decent amount of time since we've spoken about this. So what's your view of the current situation with we call it the platinum achievement and where Xbox is at with their current system?
I stand on my square, and I've told them this multiple times behind the scenes and publicly. They have been lapped there, and it's something that they created. They are the originators of this, right? They brought achievements into gaming, and when you look at the platinum system and you look at how Sony's doing it, I agree with Colin. When we had Colin on one of the early Defining Duke Ultimates, I think around the time when I first got on, he mentioned that, one of the reasons why it would be a struggle to even go to Xbox was because he's got all these platinums and the ecosystem and how you're tied to it, right? So if you have that pride and accomplishment in the way they give you a platinum for doing everything, like that is a badge of honor, right? There is a connection. And I think the problem now with Microsoft is that they don't have that same thing, and they need to just adopt it. This is a copycat league. Let's be honest. When Microsoft did that, people were doing it. Party chat, copycat. Like they've created things that other people have copycat. So like literally Sony has something that is clearly an attachment. So I think they need to. That's one. Shout out to Jason Ronald who came on ILP. We talked about it. Of course I had to press him a little bit to ask him a couple tough questions and say what's going on. So what I would say is, the vibe is that they are going to overhaul something, in reference to achievements and in reference to the UI and stuff like that. The thing that I want from the achievement system is that, look, I'm a Destiny guy, right? Like, shout out to Rand Outdoor. I love him, right? But he's got like a zillion achievements on everything, right?
Yeah. So
the guy like me who lives in live service, right? You may look at my achievements like, oh, Cog don't really game. Like, what is he doing, right? Because if you're living in that one game, you're not getting it. So I besides the trophy, they got to reward the people. Let's be honest, this is a live service culture in a way. Look at the top 10 games. It's Warzone. Like if you're a Warzone, Destiny, Apex, whatever, right? You need some visual representation that like you are a beast in this game from your hours, your gameplay, your level of commitment. And at one point, shout out to Mikey Barrow, who was at Xbox at the time, they talked about this. They talked about having something to represent those players that have, the Overwatch guys, like, that have that level of commitment into the game, whether it be on your profile or whatever. So that's the first thing. Second, I'm going to die on this hill. Bring back achievement art. I'm pissed off. It was one of the features that Xbox One had, and I loved it. I could take my 5 favorite achievements that I'm most proud of, right? So, like, say if you're a Gears guy, seriously, if anybody knows what seriously means, that achievement is like you kill like 10,000 enemies. Like, that is a very hard achievement to get, right? So you have that with the art, and you have like it's almost like a portfolio, like a little profile that you click, and they go, "Oh, okay, Maddie cares about that. Maddie cares about." There's certain achievements that you bleed for. You like, yo, that was hard to get, and you want to flex. Like, yeah, do you got this one? Bring back the showcase. I missed the achievement art showcase. That was something I don't know why they got rid of it. Maybe because of the UI change, whatever. And then the other thing, as far as will I see it? I think what's happening right now is because there's a big controversy. I don't know if you know, Manny. There's a big controversy that So basically, if you've been on Xbox lately, you try to share to Twitter from your video clips. It ain't there no more. Now it says share to mobile, and now you have to upload it to your device, and then to your device, then it is a huge controversy. They have regressed on a feature. That is bad. Unless you tell your community that you intend to bring it back in a newer way or give more functionality. But literally, the option to share to Twitter, bro, is gone now. You have to go to a mobile.
Happen.
It's archaic. So it's like, what is going on? Now, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt that something greater may be coming. But until you explain, you're going to get the smoke. And that's what people feel about it. So that's why I ran over. But this is important to me. The gamers, this means a lot to gamers.
Yes, and you're on fire. I can't overstate enough what you just said, that this type of stuff matters. It really does. Much like Chris said, there are plenty of people, myself included, who will shop multi-plat and lean PlayStation because I want to see what that platinum trophy is all about. Like, it is a huge purchasing factor. And again, much like what's happening in Japan, it shows that even the smallest things, like rather it's really a big thing, but just being there day one and having a presence can make a difference. And something as small as having a platinum trophy can make a decision of whether or not Xbox gets some money in their pocket. And I think with their consistent talking about it but not doing anything, it gets frustrating, because to me, I think people would settle for a copycat and go, just, all right, add one more achievement on top of these games, the platinum achievement, or whatever you want to call it, the crown jewel, whatever, and have it just be that. Just wash your hands of it. It's done. I'm not saying it's an easy implementation, but like literally, if it was just that simple, not a whole reinvention of it all. Because if you're going to reinvent it, I think the best time for that is a new generation. Right now, it's okay. Just one on the top. Just one on the top that says, like, you got them all. That's all. And just have it not even be a thing where you got to retroactively go back and you got to have everyone support it. Just say, from now on, moving forward, games will have this achievement. I just don't know why there's such a holdup outside of them wanting to reinvent the whole system, which, again, I'm for if they're like close to it, but it doesn't sound like they are.
I mean, to jump in, the only thing I can think of is on a technical level, let's be honest, the UI kind of was brought in from the old one. It's kind of like the same UI, right? That was from the past generation. So it's got to be, the only thing that makes sense to me, it's got to be some type of technical challenge that, because we've seen that before when things don't happen with them. It's because, we couldn't do FPS boost or whatever. It's some game breaking bug or whatever.
Right.
So clearly it's got to be. So I think this probably requires an overhaul. That's my guess. I'm gonna go make my educated guess that the reason why this hasn't happened yet, but I'm with you. Like, it needs to happen. Like, it has to happen. Like, you cannot have the competition just doing all these things better than you. You know what I'm saying? Like, and especially if you want people in your ecosystem to have that, to stay in it. That this is a big part of it.
It's just, you got to have the things that make people. If you're Xbox, you just got to have the things that cancel out why they would go to PlayStation. Like, I know it sounds overly toxically competitive, but like, you have to remove these factors that PlayStation has that you don't, and just like be like, okay, well, now that's one less reason they're going to go over there. And again, it may sound small, but there are thousands upon thousands of people where this matters. And in fact, it can matter enough where, like, I'm sure I'm not the only one who was like a PlayStation 4 and Vita owner, and I double dip on games to get the platinum again, just because I love that game and I love the hunt of the trophy. Like, it's just fun. And I know Xbox doesn't have that, but people will 100%, they start seeing you do the platinum achievement or whatever, and they come over, they'll double dip on games and they'll be like, yeah, I want to get the platinum achievement, this, that. Like, there's a feeling, man. It's great.
Absolutely.
It's a wonderful system that PlayStation's made over there.
Last point I'll say too, even to the point on PlayStation side that I like is sometimes, I don't know if from an option standpoint, when you get any achievement, you know what I mean? Like the snapshot, the picture, the video that coincides with it, that you could turn that off on play. But I kind of like that it even exists. Like, hey, if you want, when you get an achievement, that the game recorded what you did to get it while you did that last couple of seconds, that's pretty cool. You got to start implementing this stuff.
Yeah, it's a really good system they got, 100%. All right, let's move on to number 4 and talk a bit about crunch in the video game industry. This comes from Zach Mullins. He says, good tidings, Onion Knights. This will be the only reference to the infamous sandwich. By the way, we got a tweet that we just got to briefly talk about.
Let's get it.
Remember the tweet of the onion sandwich?
Oh,
the guy said his dad sent it to him. He's like, he just sent it. There was a bite in it. He took a bite and then sent the picture, like a statement.
Yo, that right there, yo, you just living foul. I can't with that onion joint. Nah, man. I'm taking a hard stance. No.
Yeah. I was just all I can say was, what the fuck? Like,
exactly. Like, yo, who raised you?
Yeah. All right, let's continue on with Zach's writing. He says, I am that FedEx driver you speak of. I almost exclusively listen to podcasts with one earbud in all day with a smile on my face as I deliver your butt creams and late medicine. I find it more meaningful escape to the day, from the day to day, instead of listening to music, which can be good, but on those really let's fucking go kind of days. Anywho, my question is fairly simple, but perhaps a little jaded or misinformed. As a delivery driver for FedEx, we have crunch in our industry every year. It is generally planned and expected around certain holidays, and especially the end of the year. So when I hear of game development racing to the end of a deadline and using crunch as a means to deliver it on time, I see no issue. I understand that ideally our jobs shouldn't take us away from more from us than they give, but sometimes it's just the way it is. I noticed you and Colin both mentioned previously that you recorded a bunch of end of the year content to take off for the holidays. Is it really any that different either? Maybe I just work harder than most, or maybe game journalists don't generally work hard at all. We know they were out there. My car just broke down, and all I have to eat for 24 hours is this old onion sandwich kind of day. Man, you'd rather starve. Let's be honest.
Man. I might have to start with that one, but all right, Zach, this is a good one. This is a really good one.
Good perspective.
Get to the crunch stuff. I know everybody likes to hear that.
Yeah.
Look, I understand the sentiment where you're trying to go. Like, you know, I've worked various different jobs. You know what I'm saying? I've been in IT for a long time. You know, I did menial jobs before that. You know, I will say this. In a lot of jobs that I've had, there's been times where it's this unwritten rule, right? There's a big project coming up, or there's a time period, and it's almost, I liken it like the fire department. Like the fire department could be chilling all day, right? But when that call goes in and, you know, the house and the address comes up, all systems go, all hands on deck, and it doesn't stop until it's done, until the fire is out, right? So I understand that aspect, that there's always going to be a period where you're going to work extremely harder than the norm. Where I struggle is that with the games industry, you know, there's such a volatility to it, right? So what it is that unlike FedEx or whatever, like there's not a bunch of places you can go, right? So that's the first thing. So you're limited by where you can go, right? Like if you're not in, like, you know, San Francisco or wherever the studios are at, but I know they ain't in New York, the majority of them ain't, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like, so that's the first thing. And the thing about it is because there's limit to where you can go, then combined with the volatility of the industry, because let's be real, think about how many studios really still existing. We just seeing studios go under left and right where they got to be acquired, or, you know what I'm saying? Or they don't get acquired and they go under. We've heard the story. There's so many companies from my youth that I love. They don't exist, right? There's talk about it, right? Right? So again, and on top of that, the games industry is so hard to figure out. We hear the stories of people sacrificing and moving their whole family away from traditional jobs to a location. Then come to find out upper management made some decision that had nothing to do with you, right? Let's say, let me give you a case in point. Let's say you are the designer at CD Projekt Red and you made all the, I don't know, what's one of the strong points of the game? You what happened? What you say?
Like the quests, or you
Yeah, like you did quests. Yeah, let's say your job was only quests and the intricacy of certain quests and the writing, and you did a phenomenal job and you worked hours upon hours upon hours on quests, right? The game comes out, right? One, too early because management made a decision and you ain't have really much control over, right? Then gets critically bombed and everyone's calling the devs idiots. How could they release? You see what I'm saying? So you got the emotional aspect of it as well, right? That is a lot. So now you put your blood, sweat, and tears. This game is now considered a lava stock. They're pointing the finger at you like you're an idiot. So there's an emotional aspect of it. And then the last point I'll say is that, most jobs, there's that 9 to 5. After 5, right? If I'm working, I'm supposed to get OT.
Yeah.
There's no OT, bro. So if there's that situation for the majority of the year or the majority of your stay, and we're gonna get into Moon Studio stuff and people don't understand in corporate, like there's this unwritten rule, like you're expected when your phone goes off on the weekend or your phone goes off 10 at night, you're expected. You're not considered the team player, and you then get a reputation. And remember what I told you about volatility, where you can't go nowhere or you get you missed the Quest guy, CD Projekt Red, who left early because you said, you know what, they working too hard, it's crazy. The industry's small, bro. You go somewhere, these guys talk. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, he wasn't, Matty, he left early, you know what I'm saying, on crunch. I mean, it's not that specific, but again, reputation, relationships. And that's why the talk of unionization comes up sometimes, because they're not afforded what traditional jobs are afforded. You know what I mean? You got a big disparity. You got the developers who bleeding and giving you all this blood, sweat, and tears to make you a game, right?
Yep.
Then you got guys like Robert, right? Who sometimes the funds are not, the salaries are disproportionate and mismanagement happens. So that's why people go so hard with the crunch thing. And the last point I'll say is I understand the logic. Sometimes like, if this game got to be good, you will have to crunch. I get it, but we got to find a better balance, in my opinion, so that the devs are respected and they're protected. That's all I got to say on it. But I am curious because you are now a game developer. So
it's really hard for me to cover anything that you said. I agree wholeheartedly with everything that you said there. I guess the only thing I can really add that I don't want it, because it'll be the only thing I had to say on it, is for it to come across as I disagree with what you say. So let me make it clear. I agree with Cog, but I do think there is a little bit in our industry of a lack of, it's a people problem at the end of the day. Like, you got to know your staff. You got to know who's willing to put up with what. And, kind of like what Zach wrote in for us, like, at the end of the year, I always have to crunch videos to make sure I have stuff to take time off. My way of trying to circumvent that is, if you're a patron right now on my personal platform, you'll notice I've been putting out unlisted videos for patrons, and eventually those do go out to the public. But the idea is I'm starting now in the beginning of the year and doing them every 2 weeks, rather than starting in August and really just like pumping them out a ton, where, it becomes very overwhelming. So there are ways you can even circumvent issues like that. But I do think in our industry that there is a very generally negative view on sometimes just doing what needs to be done to get the job finished. And again, that's where it comes down to people. Like, you got to check with someone and be like, are you okay with this? There will be no punishment. Are you okay with this? If I could pick a personal example, I can't speak to it on a video game front, because that's just not how we operate. But like, I think of videos, like when I was traveling for something, Lockmort had to do some retro rebound edits, and I was ill prepared. It was last minute. I said, look, if you can't do this, say no. I'm totally okay with it. Like, we don't have to do this. Retro rebound's a side thing right now. Like, but if we can pump this out, like, I have the plan in place. and you leave it in his hands. And I'm like, look, again, no one's docking your pay. You're not going to get like fired or anything. It's just we're putting the option on the table. So if he's game for it, let's go for it. If he's not, we readjust and we do it a different way. In this case, he was game for it. I was like, okay, let me get into place what we're going to do here. And then the trade-off is down the line, you make sure not to put them in that position again. So again, it's knowing the people. Like most people are willing, I think, to put in that extra work. It's when you continuously ask them to do it over and over. And the other thing is, let's be honest, we work because we want to earn money. If you sweeten the deal a little bit, I put bonuses on the end of anyone who works for me at the end of the year. Like I'll give them just a stack of cash. Like, hey, thank you for like standing up when I needed you to. Remembering those things, like that goes a long way and makes people want to work with you more. Like, you know, it's not just words of appreciation sometimes aren't enough. But I do think there's a lot of, you know, I hate to use the term because it just sounds dismissive, but I do think there's a little bit of whining in our industry on just getting the job done. I don't think it can always be pretty. I don't think it can be. Like I can imagine with our game, we already had it to some extent once where it was me and one of my other friends, and we had to kind of get a lot of the systems and design and writing in place. So starting in 2022, we could fully begin implementing it. And yeah, it was like when you combine that with YouTube, Defining Duke, even when I was off from YouTube, I spent 10 hours a day just getting everything together for our game so that we could be good to go for 2022. I had to put in the man hours. Fortunately, it wasn't everyone else, but like, yeah, sometimes it was like I'm passionate about it. It's what I wanted to do. It's about, again, for other people who may feel that same passion I do, not wielding it in a way that hurts them because they will typically go that extra mile. But that's all I can really add to that. Because again, Cog, you covered every single base I probably would have.
Yeah, and I agree, man. You made some great points too. I just feel it's a difficult industry. It's a difficult industry.
Yes.
Making games is very hard, and it's just I don't think it's a. I know a lot of people, you know, and I'm not coming for Zach because Zach, this is a great question. Like I love this question. You know, I just feel like a lot of people sometimes think it's, you know, a one-to-one, apples to apples based on other jobs, and I just want to be clear, like. It is not like any other job. It is very, again, it's limited to where you can go and what is expected. And the work is not easy. You know, it's not, and it's not a thankful business. Like you said about giving credit and stuff like that. Like you don't get destroyed on social media for, you know, for the most part, you know, for doing a basic 9 to 5 by the world and then mocked, and it's a different energy that comes with it. And I know that's one thing, but you know, hopefully, like I said, improvements continue. We're starting to see hopefully some traction. We've seen obviously what's going on with Microsoft, Activision, stuff like that. We're gonna get into the Moon Studio situation, but it's a good question. I really enjoy these type of discussions.
I will just throw out there that I think the reason, you know, there are just generally toxic people on the internet, and that'll be unavoidable, but I do think that more leaders in our industry need to take the opportunity to educate. Again, it's why I talk about my process, making my game, because good or bad, people are learning something. I don't think we get enough of that because we're so secretive for like 4 or 5 years, and then we just let it all out, and then everyone doesn't know what happened in those 4 to 5 years. And that doesn't mean that you got to let us know when shit hits the fan, but I think there's a lot of like, after this all happens, here's why it happened. And it kind of comes across very much like you're preaching, and you're trying to get through to people when they're pissed off, and that like get them when they're willing to be educated and learn. And not everyone's going to want to learn, but again, I just feel like right now the proper tools to learn about how games are made are like buried in videos on a GDC YouTube channel. And like, that's not where everyone's going to actively look it up.
No, this is valid points. I think the only, not even pushback, but the only reason why I think why it's not happening is because in this era of games journalism and the media, you've got all these armchair devs talking about how you should do this. All you should have did was everybody's a dev. Everybody knows how it should have went. Maddie, I don't know what you're talking about. All you had to do that. I don't know why your game took so long, because all you had to do it. And that's the part I do kind of relate to them, because it's like there's some people who have no knowledge of what is going on. And so it's a balance, right? It is a little bit the devs, you know, with educating as far as some of the process, right? Yeah. But then I think the media and social and games journalism and games media, you know, it's very hyperbolic sometimes, man. And sometimes I think a lot of these guys are scared to say that because it's like then they're gonna get picked apart or misquoted or like they don't care. It's a tough one, man. But I understand your sentiment. It is a tough industry. That's why I'm gonna be honest. Like I've always been my stance. I've always been pro dev. I've always been a guy who says, look, that job is not easy, and I'd rather sit and humble myself to learn. You know what I'm saying? What are the things that they encounter, the challenges and then going through and stuff like that? And we'll see. Hopefully, like I said, the industry continues to improve and project it in a more positive direction. But
for sure. All right, our last question before we get into the news is from Jamie Gotts. We got a lot of funny questions this week, this one especially. Hello, gents. Quick question. Egg on or off McDonald's sausage McMuffin? I'm an off type of guy, but will instead add in the crispy goodness of the hash browns to my McMuffin. Adds a wonderful crunch. Give it a try. Cog, do you frequent at the McDonald's breakfast menu? Because to me, like, I'm going to just sound really judgy here, but I've tried it. I remember I was high school, got my license, and, suddenly the world's a little bit bigger. And I'm like, where can I explore? Where can I go? So you get up a little bit earlier. I go to McDonald's. I'm like, I can do this now. And so I stop there and I try, I forgot what it was. I think it was the McMuffin. And you taste that they kind of glaze the top of the McMuffin with a maple syrup. And I'm like, why, dude? It's like 8 a.m. Why is this so sweet? And so it really didn't click with me. And I've never liked these heavy, super sugary foods, these fattening foods early in the morning. Am I being, I don't know, a little too elegant for the show right now? Do I need to rough and tough and have a McDonald's sausage McMuffin? Or are you a part of my club, or are you part of the Breakfast Club?
So I got a confession.
Oh, okay.
I am part of the problem. Look. These are the weaknesses, and anybody who struggles or fluctuate with the weight in the stomach sometimes, which is carb, the problem is that when you are hungry and you don't have good food choices in the home, you tend to go to what is quickly accessible or available.
Yeah.
And guess who's always open? Guess there's always a location near you and a drive-through and inexpensive, right? So man, like these are problems. The McMuffin is okay. To his question, the McMuffin is okay for me. I've never done the hash brown thing. I don't actually sound too bad. I would try it one time, but look, my Achilles heel is the McGriddle. Everything that Maddie hates. The mapley syrupy kind. It's the sugar thing, man. I got a sweet tooth, so it almost feels like a syrup, like you threw a maple syrup on a waffle or it feels like a little pancake, a baby pancake on top of it. And again, from a guy who got a sweet tooth, this is like you literally sprinkle crack on it. So like it's literally drugs to me. Like I got to stop, right? It's bad. So man, and it's just like, it's one of those things. That's why I always tell people, have good food choices, and I got to do better about it myself because I'm still not the greatest.
Always be in that grocery store, man.
Right, get in that grocery store. Have it ahead of time. So when the food hunger goes off, it's a case of emergency brake. Your stomach do not care about none of that. You
not make a rational choice.
It's like, we need to eat now. What's open? McDonald's, let's go. And then you deal with the repercussions after. Yeah. That's what it is, man. It's too like my weaknesses is that, and I don't know if you got them near you. Is you ever had White Castle?
Oh yeah,
bro.
Oh yeah, I love White Castle.
Yeah, it's a downfall.
Yeah,
another downfall again.
Dude, the crave case. It's such a great group food, man. It's so fun. So good.
So good. And then the thing is, again, I just on a personal level, bad food choices. I would be, this is younger Cog, nightlife Cog, going out. You know what I'm saying? Had a good night at the club. You're coming out 2 a.m. You're like, damn, I could use a little something. There ain't nothing open. Maybe too far away from a diner. And guess what? There's that White Castle 24 hours. Man, let me get 6 double cheeseburgers. Onion ring chicken. It's bad, bro. It was like a tradition. We leave a spot and there's only certain things open and you make bad food choices. So those are Those are kinds
You know,
of
our
plays
message
here.
is health is wealth when we go from trying to answer if we put a hash brown on a McMuffin to like, here's why we steered the wrong way and how
Bro.
you can do better.
I understand the struggles, man. I understand them.
All right. We've dilly-dallied enough. It's time for the news.
Let's get to it.
Starting off with number one. In a most organic fashion, PlayStation has purchased Haven Studios. I'm in a little snippy mood lately, aren't I?
Yeah, you sniping.
I'm throwing jabs everywhere to the Code Red lovers, to PlayStation. Who's next?
I see it.
Anyway, PlayStation's purchased Haven Studios, which is led by Jade Raymond, who was producer/executive producer of the Assassin's Creed series, amongst many other things. She was also recently at Google. Typically, PlayStation wines and dines before taking the date back home, as was the case for teams like Insomniac or Housemarque, but things are different this time around as the two have only been working together since early 2021. Head of PlayStation Studios, Herman Holst, claims that they were so excited about what Haven Studios is building that they wanted to deepen the relationship even if they could have carried on in their current capacity. A big reason behind this is because whatever the team at Haven is working on is well ahead of schedule, and PlayStation, quote, wanted to do things properly, end quote. This will also mark PlayStation's first developer to call Canada their home. Holst made sure to insist the same tune was sung during the acquisition of Bungie, that the studio will remain fully autonomous. The difference between these two is that this is a AAA multiplayer experience from Haven that will be exclusive. All right, Cog. So PlayStation continues to buy up studios. I thought that this was a great number one topic, given a question we got that had mentioned how, Xbox needs to get a little better in Japan, right? And sometimes it's not always the big splash. And what I like here is PlayStation's invested in someone nice and early. And I don't know if that means necessarily the game will be good, but they got someone on the cheap and low. And we know Xbox, the last two things they've done have been huge splashes. So from that angle, I wanted to at least look at it there immediately and go like, I would love to see Xbox kind of invest in a team very early like this, because we've seen what kind of happens when they're building up the initiative, but like invest in one that's been established, that they've worked with for a little bit, and like, all right, let's bring you in. But before we get into that, I just want to know your general thoughts on what's occurred here for PlayStation and their new partnership, or acquisition rather, of Haven Studios.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. I thought we did hear the reports that they were not going to stop acquiring after the Bungie thing. Look, I just got to get to the elephant in the room first. And we have to be careful as gamers, because there's a narrative that I've seen floating around from the PlayStation side, which is, the organic growth, the nurturing. And look, I get it. A lot of the history they've had with studios has been in that vein, right? Yeah. But on the same token, we got a lot of examples where that's not, right? And then this is one of those examples. To me, it's not exactly organic. You start early. Shout out to my boy Ty Guy Travis. You got a tweet that had me laugh. Like, you pre-ordered.
Yeah, that's actually a great way of looking at it. They really did.
Shout out to Ty Guy Travis. Last word.
100%.
Bro, you pre-ordered. Like, it wasn't. Wow. There's no proof of there's no evidence. Like, there's no game they've made. Right. So respect. I hope they make a great game. I'm not hating on it. But the reason why I bring that up, and I bring up the Bungie thing, is because I've seen this narrative of this moral high ground. This is the way we do it. You can't say that anymore. You can't. The last two have shown that, and you have examples in the past where it's not organic. So let's just stop with the high and mighty talk, right? Let's just produce good games. And this is more of the fan bases. This is really not an attack on Sony per se.
Yeah, they never said that we specifically do organic.
They don't necessarily go out their way, but I see this. It's like a country club vibe, bro. It's like, the way we do it. It's like, stop. Like, games are games. As long as whatever you've acquired or organically grown produces something great, and they've done a fantastic job at that. So that's the only thing I want to get out the way. This is interesting. Obviously Jade Raymond, there's history there. I remember she was at Google for a minute, because I know they when they were thinking about actually doing first party internally, she was at the helm. Yeah. So salute. This sounds cool. I mean, clearly, I will give the moral ground people this. Like, it's in the earlier stages, right? It's in like, okay, you feel like something special could be going on here. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm all with it. Do your thing, bro. That's all. Like I said, all I would say just calm down with the moral grandstanding and high ground versus the way we do it versus they do it stuff.
Yeah.
That's all. Because it's like I say, it's just talent, it's acquisition, and it's good. But listen, Sony is out here, man. They're doing their thing. You know, they are definitely very aggressive. And I'm curious to see what else is coming down the pipeline. Because look, if these studios start producing, and you know that, I get the vibe that they're filling in a lot of their gaps. You know what I'm saying? A lot of things that they, you know, live service is one of them. So I'm just curious about you. Like, what do you think about this one in particular? You know, how you feeling about Haven? Where you at with this?
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of investing in a team early when they're building something you like. You know, if ever from my perspective, like the idea, like it's got to be exciting for Haven. Like if I like as someone making a game, like I just think if someone a year into our full production was just like, "Yo, we like that, we want you," it's like that's an honor in a way. It's like we haven't even made something and you want us, like. So I trust PlayStation's read on talent on games. They've done a good job, and the proof is in the pudding. So to me, this is kind of like a vote of confidence that makes me interested in what this AAA multiplayer experience is. We know that PlayStation is working on, what was it, 10 plus live service games that they want to get out in a certain amount of years. So, you know, this is one of them, and they seem to believe heavily in that. But this also seems to be their future, so that they can then continue to make those big blockbuster open world games. Like that's my read, is like they're securing the live service so they can have that. It can passively generate cash, and they don't have to jeopardize your Sucker Punch, your Naughty Dog, whoever, and let them make what they want. And the good news is they got someone like Naughty Dog who's made great multiplayer experiences in the past, now working on Factions, which is more and more looking like a full game of its own whenever that decides to come out, right? It's been 2 years almost since The Last of Us Part 2 dropped, right?
I forgot about it,
right?
Right.
And so they split that up, and knowing Naughty Dog, it probably got bigger and bigger, and they're like, yeah, let's make this to a full thing. So they're playing with some good toys here when it comes to their live service front. I think they're going to have a lot of tantalizing options here. Ghost of Tsushima Legends was another surprisingly good one, and that didn't even have microtransactions. So
Bro, that's so good too.
I really do trust PlayStation's read on this, and I'm excited to see what comes of this. But otherwise, I do want to throw out there that this is where, I don't know if this is exactly how it would have played out, but the timing couldn't be better, where I do think we're starting to see a more aggressive PlayStation, more willing to lock things down and not play the long game. Because
I agree.
I think after the Activision deal, it put them on watch, not in a way where it's like, oh, they took Activision from us, but that was even possible, right? For I think everyone, that was the laugh it off scenario, right? That was the imagine, you know, and you say in the little giggle, unless you're Sov, then you knew.
Yeah, unless you're Sov,
then you knew. But yeah, you did. I think when you see something like that, you're a little more apt to put a ring on it a little bit quicker, right? You know,
absolutely. You gotta wipe it up. You do, yo, dudes is out here.
Yeah,
you gotta
protect yours. And I think that's what they're doing a little bit. You know, again, I think it's a little too close to the Activision acquisition to say definitively that's what's happening here. But I do think PlayStation's a little more apt to lock things down and do things differently from what they did in the past. We saw how long it took them to get Insomniac, and it worked. I mean, look how cheap they got them for. It worked, but we're in a day and age of consolidation, and everyone's moving towards a subscription service, sadly, and that means that you need to have the content that can be permanently in that library. And you know, just like with Game Pass, where you know every first-party studio is going to have all their games in there now and in the future, whatever PlayStation does with Spartacus, you know, that first party lineup will likely be a part of that in some way. I don't know if it'll be the same way as Game Pass, but they're going to be involved in some way. And I think that's why they're investing heavily, because there's something that's got to be coming from them, right? Like that's my read on it.
I agree. I do think, you know, I don't think you're off as far as the correlation to, you know, anything Sony may have been on the fence about. Like now, when you see a reality like an Activision acquisition, stuff like that anything is possible. Now you have to really look at and it's funny because I remember when Colin we were talking to him about it, you know, and he was on actually RP for a little bit as well. You know, his fear was this on some level. Like there's a part of him that didn't want, you know, Sony to be aggressive, to feel like they have to match Microsoft. So again, I do think there is some truth to what he's saying as far as the influence, because I don't know if without the Activision thing that this happens as quickly. It may have happened still, but maybe not as quickly because of the fact, you know what I mean? And the budget thing, because of what's going on. I think the climate has changed and maybe have forced them to react and maybe have forced them to really look at Spartacus, what it is, what it's going to be, if it is intended to be the Game Pass competitor they want it to be. So.
Yeah, it's interesting though, just to see how fast this is happening, right? Because still, this is happening with the rumor floating around that sometime within the first half of the year, like there's going to be another large acquisition that happens, and you have to imagine it's going to be PlayStation. I just think Xbox is going to stand pat. Like I don't want to rule them out ever because I think they can strike at a moment's notice, but I think they're just based off that letter they put on the Microsoft blog. Like they're probably going to behave until that deal is done.
And I know,
so I think whatever publisher falls next, because undoubtedly, I keep saying undoubtedly, it's gonna be one of them, like the big ones, like a Warner Bros. Or a Ubisoft or CD Projekt Red, maybe. Like I just feel like one of these studios will fall to PlayStation and really put people on watch again. Because if you noticed here, as I wrote up, this is exclusive. Like it seems like a Bungie only thing that like that's not exclusive for them. So I think this is still, it's almost an anomaly here with Bungie is what it looks like. Because everything before and now everything after has been exclusive deals.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I thought that was very interesting, right? Because we've seen on the Microsoft side the willingness to play nice, regulators, because Call of Duty and other franchise. Oh no, we are intent to bring them everywhere, whatever. With Bungie, a big acquisition, Destiny, all that stuff. Oh no, we intend to not take that away, whatever. As soon as the bigger stuff kind of calmed down, to me, this is where it gets back to the norm, so to speak, right? Of we intend to have you to control your IP, that it don't go nowhere else. And that's what, that's my guess as far as what is going to continue to happen. I think, the bigger scale stuff is when, the eyes are on it and everyone's being protective and careful that the deal goes through and they're not perceived as this bad guy with huge franchise stuff like that. But all the other deals, this is why Microsoft fans were surprised with the Activision stuff, with the Call of Duty stuff, because they thought it was going to be status quo like it's always been in this acquisition phase. So this is interesting to see what's going on.
Yeah, mind you that this exclusive is as I said earlier, a AAA multiplayer experience, and they're still locking it down. So I think Sony's prerogative is mostly still the same when it comes to getting games, and they know what works for them. And that, again, Bungie is a part of the bigger plan for whatever this subscription service is. And that read, by the way, I want to just leave the window open that I could be totally wrong on what they're planning for subscription service. And maybe they're just locking these companies down, because we talked about Microsoft with defensive acquisitions at some point in time, where we always brought up, if you see NetherRealm's about to go, you got to swoop in and do something, right?
Ooh,
and
for sure.
It's funny because now they're probably more vulnerable than ever, where it's like you got to just hope that they don't get pulled off the market for the next year or so until you can get back out there. But yeah, PlayStation, man, they're having themselves a good year outside of Gran Turismo 7, which shout out to the Forza Horizon gang. But hey, otherwise, PlayStation's having themselves a really good year so far. And we always say this, but we warned everyone. Everyone was partying a little too early. We said 2022 is going to be a good year for them, and they've been loud every month. It's like they were just letting Xbox have that second half of the year. And since the start of this one, they've really hit the ground running. So shout out to PlayStation for doing a great job so far.
Absolutely.
Anything you'd like to add, or should we move on to number 2?
We're good. I think you nailed that one.
All right.
For sure.
So number 2 is shortly following the re-release of Cyberpunk 2077 on next-generation consoles, CD Projekt Red has dropped another significant update on the future of their studio. In a post on the game's official website, the Polish developer has confirmed that a new saga for the Witcher series is currently in development with no timetable or release date available. More notably, the team will be ditching Red Engine for this next-generation project and moving into a partnership with Epic Games to use Unreal Engine 5. The game will be directed by Jason Slama, current director of The Witcher's Gwent spinoff. He is claiming that, quote, no crunch will happen on his watch, end quote. Funny timing on that. As for the Cyberpunk 2077 side of things, there aren't any updates outside of Red Engine continuing to be used for their upcoming expansion. Adam Razak writes in, hey, Dukes, the new Witcher game just got teased. Thoughts? So let's start off there, Cog. What's your feelings on a new Witcher game? coming our way, and who knows when.
Who knows when? You know, but look, I like that it's in development. It's a huge franchise, tremendous success, big little Netflix series popping. You know, interest is high. So yeah, you know, I think the timing is about right for an announcement. You know, I seem to be in play. I thought the engine thing was interesting. I thought that was very interesting. I thought that you know, the switch to Unreal, you know, we you know, we've had Mark on. Not that engine switching is always bad, but when we had Mark Dara on Defining Duke Ultimate, you know, we talked about the pros and the cons with it, and I just hope that the investment to the technology and learning and the commitment, you know, is there, because, you know, from what we hear, it's not an easy thing. You know what I mean? It's a huge learning curve, kind of thing. And also, you know, this is not proprietary, right? This is, you know, I kind of like the industry standard license thing that people are going to use. So I'm curious to see that. I'm curious to see how that combat going to be. Curious to see about that combat. That's my only little, you know what I'm saying? My little issue. But look, it's cool. What I will say though is that, to me, the thing that actually interested me more was the Cyberpunk news, because I was curious. I was like, does that mean as a studio they all move? You know what I'm saying? Like, what happens to the Red engine? And say what we want. We've criticized Cyberpunk, rightfully so, right? But there are parts of that game that really look beautiful, that really shine, that there's really, you see outside of the glitches, you see the potential of what this game could be, right? So I was curious, like, does that happen? They came out definitively. I don't know if you saw it. They made the statement, like, we are not switching Cyberpunk off of it. It will continue to be on Red Engine. And that part is interesting because I think the engine is cool. So very, very interesting news to me, you know, saying from a studio standpoint with the engine switch.
Yeah, I'm excited to see a new Witcher game. I'm sure it'll be at least like 5 years before we actually see whatever that is. This to me reeks of like a hiring announcement, just letting people know what's next. Definitely some urgency, I think, to move on. But I think for me, it's less of a read on what's next for the game, because I'm just game for whatever CD Projekt Red's doing. I love the Cyberpunk 2077. I love The Witcher 3. So, you know, for me, whatever they're making, I'm interested in. Really, my deeper take is on the engine front, where I thought that this really spoke to the idea that like we cannot have another moment like that ever again. And they switched engines for it. You know, because when you really look at it, it's impressive what Red Engine has accomplished, because Cyberpunk is a competent first person shooter. It's not something a lot of people talk about, but that game feels good to play, in my opinion. Like, it's one of the best parts about it. Like, not only the level design and how you can like stealth or not, or you could you can mind hack from like a mile away. I love that stuff. But it's also that when the bullets start flying, it controls pretty well. And when you think that that's the same engine that powered this fantasy driven third person action adventure open world game, it's definitely a flexible tool set. But I'm wondering if to them that gave them a lot of problems, where they said, like, we just gotta move on to a new engine, start with a new tool set here, build it alongside Epic. And this is exciting because now you've got Epic, who is pretty much going to learn about their own engine through CD Projekt Red developing an open world for it, to then pass it on to other developers. So they're really at the forefront of something kind of special. The way they're wording it is this may be the first open world game to start being developed on Unreal Engine 5. And what they can achieve here could be, based off what we've just seen, for example, like the Matrix Unreal Engine 5 tech demo, like that level of fidelity, maybe in an open world, you know, I know for, again, I said like 5 years from now, it's really hard to imagine, but like maybe when we're there, it seems possible. But like that photorealism, that's going to be crazy. You know, I don't know if it'll enter Uncanny Valley territories, but I'm very, very excited for that, just to see what's next for them. But I do think this is just because of what happened with Cyberpunk, that they're like, let's make sure that if anything goes wrong on the tech side of things, we got the guys who built the engine there alongside us saying, let's fix this together. It's not just you with your own engine.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I didn't even catch that, as far as the Epic aspect of it, right? And the relationship there, and getting that kind of that oversight. And I just thought about something. I was also thinking about from a recruitment standpoint from a developer, because, you know, it's one thing to be struggling and then but it's your engine. But there's another thing that, okay, let's just say you're hiring devs with tremendous Unreal experience, right? So now if you need to bring people in, they have, they could be, from the hiring standpoint, you getting more people who are familiar with the engine or just as historically with it, right? So I think that as a studio could benefit them, and maybe they're just looking to fill the holes. And it basically, what you're saying is like, it could be used as an analysis of why Cyberpunk went the way it went and what things they need to do to shore up. And maybe this is one of the solutions that they've come up with, which is, okay, let's do this engine, let's partner with Epic, and then let's get some world-class talent, infused here that are familiar with Unreal to really, so we can mitigate the problems that they've had.
Absolutely. On the Cyberpunk side of things, Frog had an interesting write-in saying, "Hey Dukes, I got a Series X earlier this month and I've put about 60 hours into Cyberpunk 2077's next gen update so far, and I'm having a great time. However, with the announcement of the next Witcher game, I was wondering what you thought the future of Cyberpunk was. Obviously, there will be the expansion DLC for the main game, but do you think the year it took to get the game into a proper state has impacted its ability to be a big franchise with multiple installments? Regardless of how good the game is now, is the IP itself tainted by the buggy, controversial release? Thanks as always for the great content, and have a Elden Ring overshadowed my game's big update kind of day."
I like that one. Yeah, shout out to Frog. It could be. It could be tainted. It could be. Sometimes it's never a full recovery. Once you miss the window of when your game was supposed to shine. It's gonna be uphill. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. Not gonna act like unless they do something that is so cool looking and so groundbreaking as far as the DLC is concerned. A lot of people are gonna be like, oh yeah, all right, whatever. Back to whatever I'm playing or whatever. And timing is gonna be a big point. Again, I did not like the timing of this next gen update. It's just Frog said it best. You get your joint overshadowed by Elden Ring Horizon. Like, if there was any way they could have pushed it out of that month, like, that I would have, what I'm saying? So that's me. It's not going to be easy for them to get any public push unless what is being shown looks phenomenal and people say, okay, I'm willing to give this a shot again. And that's where I'm at with them.
Yeah, it's going to take a lot of work for sure. I don't know if it's permanently damaged. Everyone likes a comeback story, honestly, more than the game just hitting the ground running, I'd argue, Elden Ring withstanding. So to me, I feel like if they just keep working at it and show belief in it, people will believe in them. But if it's like an Anthem situation where it's just kind of like let it wither away, yeah, the people will lose faith and they won't follow it. It's about how much you put into it. Like, passion matters in this industry. Showing that you really love this and put the resource behind it matters. And the fact that this game was still successful despite all that happened to it shows how much people were really interested and excited for it. That even, I get, ahead of launch, they broke even already with their game through pre-orders before anyone could buy it. Now everything they sell afterwards is just raw profit for this game. Like, that's crazy to think about. That before the game even released, they're already talking profits. Obviously, they just missed out on some profits. So I think that they have to look at it and be like, look, our own negligence is what led us to this situation. But people were clearly very excited for what Cyberpunk was, and now what it is. It's just that I mention all the time, like, games have a window. That's something no one talks about. That they think that they're, it's almost this self-importance of like, oh, we can release it whenever, people will care. Like, no, people were ready for Cyberpunk in 2020. The issue is that when you re-released it, people were ready to talk about it for a week, but then there's Horizon, then there's Elden Ring, then there's Stranger in Paradise, and people are on to the next thing. Like, you did not capture your window properly. Now it's a bigger battle. And I think maybe things like the anime could help you out a little bit. But more than anything, that expansion, because the biggest update they got yet was a very good one that kind of put the game on the right track. But now people are looking for the new, because a lot of us enjoyed Cyberpunk, played it, beat it. And by the end of this year, we'll be looking at 2 years since the game had come out with no real new substantial content. And there's cool little details they added again this update, like people jump off of buildings and stuff where you're like, holy shit, that's grim. But nothing to the level of like interactivity. So that's what people are looking for, and I think that's why things feel a bit stagnant. It'll be a easier thing to gauge when we get that new content the level of hype for it, and of course when it releases, like how many people are playing it, how many people are talking about it, because talk is everything in this industry nowadays. If people are talking about your game, you're in a really good spot. If you're capturing people where they're posting about it, it's why that share button is really crucial on PlayStation, and why Xbox needs to fix theirs, because like that's like people want to make games to be shared, and it's just, you know, that's the thing. That's why just a separate tangent here,
No,
like
go
that's
for it. Go
why
for it.
it's why publishers are more apt to pay streamers rather than like someone for a review, because they'll watching someone just play the game and naturally have fun is way more convincing than even when I sit down and I broke down Tiny Tina's Wonderlands for 20 minutes. What will do probably better for you and everyone else out there is if you fire up a Let's Play the first 20 minutes and go, oh, this looks kind of fun. Yeah, I can get behind this. This is my vibe. Just read it for yourself, right? That's the influence there for a lot of people. So yeah, nothing more I have to add on the Cyberpunk front. I've spiraled off course now.
No. Yeah, I agree. And like I said, it's up to them to try to get that momentum back. And I agree with you with the sharing and the getting the word out there and integrating that into your UI.
Very important
stuff. It's very important. It's free marketing, right? Like it's free marketing. Like
yes.
So just thing to consider.
Indeed. So with that, let's move on to number 3. We're moving fast this episode because there's not a lot of bangers per se, but a lot of cool, interesting tidbits.
Yes.
Such as this one with Moon Studio. This was easily the biggest story in terms of length when it came to everything that I had to tab through for our show this week. So let's read. It appears that just because your team makes beautiful games does not mean the studio is a wonderful place to work from. A report by GamesBeat has landed stating that Moon Studios, the home of the Ori series, is an incredibly toxic place to make games. This would help explain why Microsoft expressed disinterest in working with the team down the line, which we were kind of critical of, especially I was. Why didn't you do that? Now it makes a lot more sense. And also Moon Studios had expressed that they didn't want to work with Microsoft. So that didn't make sense, but now it definitely does. The report provides anonymous developer feedback stating that the studio's culture is oppressive and that there's a casual level of bullying, racism, and sexism that is referred to as death by a thousand cuts. The article actually has screenshots of the conversations that took place in the company's group chat, while others are quoted. It is claimed by GamesBeat that they were able to scroll through plenty of evidence. This is the response from the studio heads. Quote, "We don't believe the experiences suggested by your questions are representative of more than 80 Moon Studios team members who are thriving and doing great work every day, nor do we believe they are representative of the experiences of former members of our team. In fact, we are very proud of our history of making people happy, advancing their careers, and contributing to their financial success. We built Moon Studios with a simple premise. First, we wanted to create a distributed studio that is not limited by geographic boundaries, enabling us to draw the top talent around the world. Second, we wanted to foster a vibrant culture where our teams thrive and deliver the very best work in our industry. And finally, from day one, we set out to share the profits and rewards of our efforts with the full team. We believe we have succeeded. What makes our team so powerful is our global and cultural diversity. We have team members working from more than 40 different countries across 4 continents, and a flat studio structure that allows everyone to speak honestly and directly and to challenge and push each other to do our very best work. We purposely set out to create a different kind of studio, one that encourages creativity, open communication, collaboration, and performance. The result has been 2 award-winning games with more on the horizon, and a team of professionals who enjoy working together, are excelling and breaking new ground in our industry while also sharing in the financial success of Moon Studios. If at times we are brutally direct in our critiques and challenges, we are also genuine and vocal in our praise. We are incredibly proud of everything we have built and achieved together. Finally, we appreciate the irony that we, an Austrian and Israeli Jew, started this multicultural enterprise. We view We view each other as brothers, and like brothers, we sometimes argue and frequently tease each other. We have made jokes at our own expense about differences in our backgrounds, and there have been many times that our teasing of each other has come off as insensitive and may have made others feel uncomfortable. Moon Studios has prospered for 12 years. We have grown and learned so much over all of these years. We have been privileged to work with many, many great and extremely talented people. We are truly grateful and proud of our team, those who are here today, as well as those who have spent time at Moon and have since moved to other ventures. And we are happy to have made a positive difference in their lives. We are not perfect, but we deeply care about our talent and are constantly working hard to improve. If we have ever made anyone feel uncomfortable or let anyone down, we regret that and we will strive to do better, end quote. Following this, GamesBeat reports that Moon Studios held a company-wide meeting with anonymous reporting to discuss the status of the studio. They also state that there are no lawsuits that are in motion and that the most visible result is people joining the team for one game before moving on to seek out better working conditions. It is said that the founders pride themselves on openness, honesty, and avoiding being too corporate, but that would convert to bullying rather quickly, according to former employees. Let's move on to a write-in from RK128. Hey, Duke of the Wisps. As someone who not only considered Ori 2 his game of the year, but one of the very few games to make me cry like a baby, I was particularly angry hearing that Moon Studios was a bad place for the developers. It frankly astounds me. Literal art like the Ori games comes from such a place of darkness. If a small studio like them could foster such hostile working conditions, how can we trust other studios? It may be a bit dumb of me to think this, but I don't know if I can just assume studios are good to their teams anymore. All right, so I know that was a lot of reading, and so Conk, I want to dish it to you. What is your read on the situation? By the way, I do recommend people go check out the GamesBeat write-up because I gave you the abridged version. It is a enormous article with plenty to read through, easily like a 20-minute read if you really wanted to tab through it all. So, Conk, I dish it to you. What do you think about what's going on with Moon Studios, creator of the Ori franchise?
Very interesting to me, this whole situation, because the thing that baffled me, let's start with the game first, right? Ori, amazing game. One of the few, you know what, I forgot to mention it in the Xbox One retrospective. Like one of the few bright spots of the Xbox One generation. Like Ori was one of them games, man. And it was the irony of this, like shout out to who wrote this in, my boy that wrote it in. RK. Like the irony of this is like this game is one of the most heartfelt, tearjerker at times, like beautiful, sensual. Like it's a feeling, it's a vibe. So to hear all this stuff come from Moon, and I'm just like, wow, okay, this is interesting. So Kyle, I try to be objective and hear what's going on, but man, these reports, man. You seen these reports, man? You see what people are saying that we're at the studio and we just finished talking about crunch and all that other stuff. But like the part that got me is said, I'm not gonna name them, but they're like, they would seem to be online for all but 5 hours a day. They, one of the studio heads monitored how often employees logged in and asked why they took a weekend off. He left messages for employees at all hours, regardless of what time of day or night or the time zone they lived in. I just found it very fascinating. Again, these are reports, I guess they can refute if they choose. I just thought it was fascinating because remember, people don't realize Moon is like a remote studio.
Yeah.
Like they're remote. Yeah. Like it's not even
they
like
pre-pandemic, like in 2014. That was the thing they prided themselves on. Yeah.
So I could understand, like to me, it sounds even more egregious because it's like you're not going to work physically in the room with these people, but you are literally feeling oppressed to the point, or the reports are people are feeling oppressed to the point that like they feel uncomfortable and they feel stressed. And all I know is from what I heard, there is some truth to some of this because I heard this is one of the main reasons why Xbox did not want to deal with them. Because everyone thought this was a no-brainer as far as acquisitions at the time. You're acquiring all these people, yet you have this relationship that you organically nurtured with Moon, who made 2 great games for you. I remember doing the Will o' the Wisp at E3. That was a huge game for us, covering that. Yeah, it was huge for everybody. So to see this not happen, and from what I heard, this alleged abuse carried on to Microsoft employees that they dealt with.
Wow.
And from what I heard, Microsoft said, no, we good.
Yeah.
So there's 2 trains of thoughts here. There's one on their side saying, oh, no, we don't want to be acquired. And then there's another train of thought that says, no, we seen how y'all act and how y'all move just with our brief interactions with because remember, they still have to interact with Xbox executives on some level, even though they're not acquired. So look, this is really, really eye-opening stuff. I understand the statement that they made in reference to, hey, our 2 backgrounds, the studio leads, we joke, we ban, That's one thing. But at the same time, when you hear reports of people saying, yo, this thing, working with them was so awful that it made me question even wanting to stay in the industry anymore. And these are the things that we're talking about when people talk about the crunch stuff. It's the environments, right? It's one thing to show up to work and Colin is harassing us every day. And like, let's be honest, like Colin makes it easy to work here. He's like, bro, do what you guys do, whatever. Yeah, we may have a holiday season here and there where, okay, yo, we're going to put out a lot of content. I'm like, for 1 month or whatever, we're trying to get a lot of content because he's going to let us, guess what? Have some time off. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, again, it's a balance, right? But if you're in a culture for 4 to 5 years, the game development is like 3 to 4 minimum, maybe 4 to 5, right? And this is the culture, like you in and do, like if some dude is calling me on the weekend talking about, yo, why you ain't log in today? What's going on? Why are you not working on the weekend? Like that gets to you, bro. Nobody calling me at the 5, 6, 7 p.m. expecting answer. Like it's a culture. All that stuff wears on you. Then you start coming to work resentful. Like, look, these are accounts. I wasn't in the building. But from what I heard from other people, there are some truth here. There appears to be some truth here. I am curious about what you think about this.
Yeah, I mean, I recommend people just check out the article because, like, you don't have to read deep to see, like, one of the screenshots that when you see it, you just can't help but, like, let out a little snort of, like, wow. Wow, these guys run the company, huh? And, it's just it's bad leadership is what I see it as. Like, look, you can all day, like I can talk to my boys how I want to. We're close. It doesn't matter. But when you bring that culture into a workplace and assume that people who can't take that are soft, you just don't realize, like, we all got that person in our lives who's tried to joke with us the same way one of your boys has. And you're like, that ain't it. Like, don't do that. Don't do that. Do not like I've had moments where my friend could tell me to go die in a car accident. And then someone else on the streets will say that. And the person who said it on the streets, I'll be like, why'd you say that, bro? You're dick, bro. But my friend says something far worse. It's like, ha, you'll laugh about it. Whatever. Exactly. There's a level of friendship there. So I get what they're trying to go for here, but you can't bring that into a work environment. You just can't. And to me, the reason I call it bad leadership from what I've read is like, it's, if you don't know how to speak to people in a way, in a creative environment that encourages their best work, like you are the problem, right? Like you need to fix yourself because your ways do not work. Your idea of open honesty and transparency, instead of saying something like, all right, like I really like this. Let's see how we can adjust this to make it better for the future though, versus this sucks. Like that. And I'm not even trying to be hyperbole because that's kind of the vibe you get. And not even the vibe, but the direct quotes sometimes you get from this report is like, it wasn't just, being honest, saying like, hey, look, this is a good effort. I don't want to waste your time here, but we do need to readjust this. Putting it gently rather than just like straight to the point, like, this is terrible. Get rid of it. And that's not honesty and transparency. That's just being an asshole at the end of the day. That's the read I got from it. Again, like you said, these are accounts. There was enough people saying it where you kind of got to give it credence. You see the screenshots of these exact studio heads saying shit. And you're like, okay, like, I think we can buy into what's being said here, which is like, I got to just add this on top, man.
Let's go.
Let's say you are an asshole. Let's say you do say some foul stuff when the cameras are off. We are in a digital age. What are you doing putting it out there, man? On a public group chat.
Bro, they caught you in 4K.
Yeah, like
they caught this expression. You got caught in 4K.
Yeah, like, is there not this mindset of, what if someone took this out of context? Like, is there that much faith in your studio culture that when you're openly destructive, you're like, no one will screen cap this out of context and show it to the press and completely blow up our studio? No, certainly not. Like, I just don't get that, man. I don't get that. If you're going to be that way off camera, at least that way you're smart enough to know, like, this isn't acceptable behavior. But when you start to put it out digitally, where screenshot is a matter of a click of a button, man. That's all it takes.
No, for real. It's just, again, you made a great point about culture and, you with your boys and what it is. But, when you work in a studio at a professional level, and I reiterate, they are a remote studio, right? That is, to me, more egregious. You do not have to be in the building with these people, but the culture was to what it was, where remotely it was a problem. And the last thing I say is this, I know it's kind of related, but not exactly as far as the crunch thing again. I know it keeps coming up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, here's the thing, because I know the counter argument be like, yo, but the Maury games was fire though, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? You know what I'm saying? I know the counter argument, and I get it.
Yeah.
But here's my counter. My counter is, because of your culture, right? Now you lost the Microsoft bag. Now you got to deal with the private division bag. You can't tell me that the private division bag is something that is more, appealing than the Microsoft bag. I'm just going to make that assumption off the top,
Sure.
right? Secondly,
I think it's a fair assumption to make, by the way.
I'm just going to make it. I don't know the numbers. The COG's not privy to detail. I'm just going to assume that it's not the same bag.
It's a good assumption.
Now, exactly. Thank you. So here's the thing, though. People are like, yeah, but the game's fire. Okay. I worry about not just short term. Now you're talking about long term. Now you got also the reputation. Again, we just went through this whole thing of, I keep telling people, of studios that don't exist anymore, right? And after a while, sometimes that culture we've seen, what is it? Your man that had the Kingdom of Alamo, the baseball player, Schilling, like you've seen examples, right? And I'm not saying his thing was all bad culture or whatever, but I'm just saying you've seen examples where you can have a hit under your belt, and then you still fall into the milk box category. Yo, what happened to such and such studio? Remember them? They made that fire game, whatever. It's that volatile industry. So again, these are things that you got to think about long term for existence and health on the industry. And that's the thing you got to be cognizant of. And I hope, that maybe this kind of changes things a little bit of how they moving forward, because we clearly know they can make a good game, right? We clearly know that, right? We're not taking that away from them. But if you get that reputation and it continues and you don't really change your ways, next thing you know, you could be out the game too. So that's all I got to say.
Yeah, it just seems very short-sighted. That's kind of the read of the room here is, the idea that they're creating this brotherly environment and at the same time, like, not thinking of how much you miss out on. And the other important part is to note on the idea of them making good games is you're losing the people who help make those good games.
That's what I'm saying.
It's very important. I think of my art director, my programmer, we're a very small team right now. And literally the idea that like these parts of my game would not happen without them. Like I couldn't imagine treating them like shit and assuming someone will fill that gap, because like talent is very specific, and like people have certain sets of talents that like you need for certain projects. And like Ori needs good platforming. In the case of Will of the Wisps, it's got to have good combat, good exploration, Metroidvania elements. You just, especially in today's day and age where everyone's trying to make 3D open world, you just don't fall into that. You got to find the right people. And when your culture's bad, when someone leaves and you see these reports come out, it's hard to bring someone in and say, hey, step into the lion's den, please. Thank you. Like that's a hard ask for certain people, right? They'll look around everywhere first before they go to you, even if that means it's working digitally. Like there is that accessibility there, but this is why you don't play the short game. You play the long game. You set up the long-term success.
Yeah, absolutely. And the last point I'll add on is that you can't tell me, again, no disrespect to private division, you can't tell me that Ori 3, in a Game Pass, it with the resources of a Microsoft, with the studio collaboration of all the other Xbox game studios, wouldn't have helped Moon better than just what the alternative is right now. So this is, again, because of the rumored relationships that you jeopardize. You know what I mean? Now you gotta deal with that. You can't tell me that it was not going to be a better situation if you would have been at least a little bit less crazy with it. You know what I'm saying? And be a little bit more, being able to work with people better. So that's how I look at it. Like you messing up the bag, bro. Like I don't get it. That's just me.
100%. Well, best of luck to everyone still working at Moon Studios, and hopefully things can turn around a little bit. Because I want to add this at the end here, because I don't want it to just sound too preachy. But I do think that like the idea of openness and transparency and being like kind of direct to like, we need to do better here, that is totally, I would argue for that. Like I would rather us not beat around the bush and focus on making something good. But again, it kind of goes to what we said at the top about like knowing your people. And certain people may respond better to harsh criticism, right? Like, this isn't your best work. Come on. To this is good. Here's a couple of things we need to adjust to just make it
Right.
even better, right? And it's art. People are always going to be sensitive when you turn something in and go, let's change this. You got to handle that delicately. But again, I don't want people to think I'm fighting against like openness and transparency, because I think there is a little too much of us like worrying about hurting each other's feelings that we've seen countless games suffer because no one wants to step on each other's toes. And it's like, look, arguments will happen in every single studio.
For sure.
You know, just if it's about the creative decisions, that's a good argument to have. If it's about because you were an asshole, now you got two problems instead of one. So I just want to make sure that's clear on my end of things, that I like their approach mentally, what they're trying to set in place, but it does not give you the excuse to speak the way that they have to their employees.
Yeah, man.
All right, number 4. Playground Games' Fable reboot is one of the many announced Xbox exclusives that many are hotly anticipating. Since its release, or reveal, I wish it was released, in 2020, things have gone completely silent. Now it seems we have some insight as to why this is the case. In a translated interview with Vandal, game designer Juan Fernandez reveals the reasoning behind the wait. Quote, Playground is very organized and production driven. Every 2 years, they put out a Forza Horizon title, which has more than 90 on Metacritic with incredible quality. They have taken racing games and they've dominated them these last few years. They're very smart and they know what they're doing. They wanted to branch out with something different, and they thought that they would do well. In open world racing games, but they lacked people with the knowledge on how the gameplay is done. In an open world, how you control a character and the actions are very different from what you have in a racing game. At the technology level, you have to develop animation, scripting, a quest system. Moving a car at 300 kilometers is very different than walking through the countryside. Action RPG open worlds are incredibly complicated to do. They take a lot of time, a lot of people, and in Playground, they have the mentality of doing more with less. That if Assassin's Creed is done by 5,000 people, they will have 150 or 200. And if they do Assassin's Creed in 7 years, they do Fable in 5. It is good to be ambitious, but you also have to be realistic. And what I saw is that development was getting longer and longer, end quote. So, Cog, it looks like number 1, this is kind of our first tale of someone formerly working at the studio saying that this is an open world action RPG. I think that was to be assumed given Playground's portfolio. But how do you feel about them taking a little bit longer as they adjust to a new genre? Are they equipped for the task?
That's a good question. It's a valid question. I don't think it's wrong to ask it, because obviously we know their history. Obviously, they're the kind of the racing games that have been, the Forza Horizon, the critically acclaimed Forza Horizon series has been in their toe, and we know they're UK based. But look, we're not going to sugarcoat it either. Like, this is a big departure for them, right? This is not the same genre. You know what I mean? Like, this is open world with a history, right? With a fan base that's been clamoring, a fan base that's like, yo, we need the essence of Fable. I know how you feel about it. I know how my addict feels about it. Like, it is a big deal. So there's a pressure there. So look, one thing I will say, and this kind of reminds me a little bit of the Initiative situation on one point, in the sense that, I'm not going to go all doom and gloom here yet. Right. That this could be, again, one employee talking about his experience, because clearly he's actually with Ninja Theory right now, the guy that was talking to him about in this article. And he just talking about the vibe I got. He's not like trashing anybody. The vibe I got was like, he just realistically talking about, the challenge at Playground with making a game like Fable. That's where it's at, right? I didn't get the vibe like, yo, they don't know what they're doing or whatever, but there's a realistic aspect to it and analysis of it. That's what I got. What I will say is that, like the Initiative, I am all about acknowledging what the challenges are and also making the necessary pivots or changes you need to execute and land the plane of the game development, right? It remains to be seen with Gallagher what's going to happen. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And it remains to be seen with Playground what's going to happen here. The thing that I'm hopeful is, with the resources and everyone in the building, that they will be able to execute it. I'm not on the doom and gloom just yet with this, unless clearly more reports come out or more things, whatever. All I got to say is, they've just got to, this is what Microsoft got to do. these games got to hit.
Mm-hmm.
These games hit. Everybody shut up. It's very simple. That's it.
Very well put.
We ain't gotta, just if these games are good, you ain't gotta worry about it. But until then, because your competitor, right, has great games and they take long, but when they come, there's a quality for the most part.
Yeah.
And that's what people want to see. And they've had good games this generation. But let me tell you a quick story.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to mention this content creator's name because he ain't going to like it, but I have a good friend of mine offline, right? And he is a pro Sony content creator through and through. And he said to me, God, I don't get it, man. Like, this was during the Xbox One generation. He's like, how do you like that? Eh? Like, you see all these great, you see this God of War, you see this Ghost. I know you love these games. I see you play them and love. Like, what makes you still stick with Xbox? That's all I'm talking about. Look, it's the ecosystem. It's a lot of other stuff that I love. I still like the games they have. And then, I said, so I flipped it on him. I said, so what makes you, kind of, what do you need for Xbox to do for you to come in and say, now, all right, and he said their first, obviously the hashtag just one type stuff, but he also said, like, I need those for their in-house. So I said, well, what about like a Hellblade? You know what they told me, man? Mm-hmm. That don't count.
Oh.
I was like, why? He said, because technically, they acquired that. Right. So like they didn't make it from the ground. So there is a thought process, right, that I've seen from a lot of Sony guys that'll say, look, they won't begin to trust Microsoft until their homegrown, their particular talent makes a brand new IP and it's good and it's great. Yeah. That's the vibe I got. So again, if there's a narrative going on, it's up to Microsoft to kill these narratives. I say all that to say this, that it's up to them to kill these narratives by proving that the stuff that you have, that developed under your watch, right? For example, they won't count the same mentality, won't count Outer Worlds. Yeah. Because Outer World exists before Microsoft acquired them. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? You see, this is the mentality. I hear it. I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm just telling you things I hear. Yeah. Right. So, for example, they will look at Avowed will be something they go, okay, we're gonna see how Avowed do. Mm-hmm. Because that's a new IP. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. That's the thought process. Now it's like, okay, Playground. Yeah. I mean, if Fable's telling out new IP, we want to see if they butcher that or not. Like, that's what they want to see. So that's why it's important for Microsoft to execute, because you need to kill these narratives that when you acquire something, that under your watch, the game can't be good. Yeah. The game ain't a successful, highly rated, critically acclaimed, good game. And that's all I got to say. I just thought it was interesting with this one. And that's what I said. These games got to be good. That's the answer to it.
Yeah, I think late last year, they kind of proved that they're a different publisher. They have games like Psychonauts that, granted, while they absorb
them. They go say they don't count.
I know, and 100%, I get that, right? It's not. It does not level out the same as a Fable, for example. It does not. It doesn't even come close. But it does show that when Microsoft is involved, that like, I think Psychonauts 2 turned out better, because some things that were in that game I really liked, like the boss fights, and those wouldn't have been in there without Microsoft. You look at things like Age of Empires, it had its biggest release ever with Age of Empires 4. You look at Forza Horizon 5, which was dominant. Halo Infinite, even while it's completely gone quiet, it had a very strong release, and it was well reviewed. Like, they proved to me last year that they are a good publisher. But now we need to see the new. And this doesn't surprise me what may be going on in the building at Playground, because we're looking at, I mean, it's one thing to, I always go to Guerrilla Games, right? They go from Killzone to Horizon. We're talking about a first-person shooter to third-person open world with bow and arrow, and completely different game. But the difference, or rather the similarity, I should say, is there was action in both of these, right? There was combat in both of these, and there was a familiarity with that. We're going with a team that has done racing games, drive-atars, that type of stuff, open world racing. They're going from that, which they know and have a feel of on wheel exploration, if you will, getting from point A to point B, which is like 20 miles away, to now you're on foot, trekking through the woods. What is combat like? What's the flow? This is a tougher transition. And it doesn't surprise me that it's taking longer because I still am, and I don't know if I'm the only one, have trouble wrapping my mind around the idea that a open world racing dev is making the next Fable game.
Big point. I agree.
Right?
It
And
is, yeah.
it's an exciting expansion for them. And I trust their talent. They've certainly earned the right to try something new with how often they've nailed a particular type of game. But they nailed that particular type of game because they had years to iterate on it. I think with Fable, that lease on life is a bit shorter. They have to get it right quicker. And especially now the pressure is on, as you just mentioned so well, Cog, about, winning people over, showing when Xbox is involved with an exclusive that's built from the ground up. We're going to make it better. We're going to figure it out that no matter how long we take, it's guaranteed quality. That's a tough ask on top of everything else that they got to do. And I trust that they can figure it out, but it doesn't surprise me that it might take a bit longer. It really might. And I originally had this game kind of penned for like a 2023 release in the fall, but I could totally see it slipping into 2024, which is unfortunate. But this game, think of when the rumors started for this game. When the rumors of a Playground Fable started, I think it was either early 2017 or 2018, the latest. And now look, it's 2022. We still don't know what the game looks like. They're moving slow, man. They are moving very slow with this, figuring it out, which is good. They've been afforded that time thanks to Horizon 5 just coming out. But it could be a hot minute before we see this game. It really could be.
Yeah.
And that wouldn't surprise me, as sad as it is.
Yeah, I mean, look, and there's another thing I want to bring up, and I notice there's a lot of mismanagement talk, right? And I'm not saying it's not founded. I don't want to say that people are off for completely saying that, because I've seen it. And look, until they produce, they got to do it. It's just that, this is how I look at it. And again, we're Mets fans, so we can understand. Like, game development is hard, but at the same time, nurturing this talent to get a game out from start to finish, right? My thing is, I'm willing to give time for certain things that the product to be great, right? I'm willing to okay, this is one of the top prospects. We're going to give it time to see if it could be great. Now, the end result is when it's going to matter to me, right? So I get it. It's okay to be concerned. And if you're so concerned that there's so much mismanagement, maybe they're not the platform for you. For me, I look at the opposite approach. I'm looking at it like, there's a lot of talent here, right?
Yeah.
The law of averages say some gonna hit. That's just how I look at it when I look at all the prospects, all the acquisitions, all the trades, all the things. That's how I look at it. And it's just two rules of thought. It's okay. It's like you can sit there and say, "Yep, I'm good. I'm over here on PlayStation till they get their act together." Or you know what? Nah, man, they cooking. I'm seeing the signs, and this is gonna be a great generation. And I think for the most part, the reason why there's still an excitement on the Xbox brand is because people still feel that. And they had a year like they had last year. You know what I'm saying? And you see an Avowed, a Hellblade, you see all this stuff, and you're like, this could be it. You see a Starfield potentially come, like, this could be great. What's about to happen. They just got to execute.
Absolutely. We're getting to that time, though, right? We're getting close.
Oh, yeah.
It's this year's flying by. The fact that it's about to be April is crazy.
It's crazy.
Once Redfall presumably is the first to go, it should be the beginning of a new era for Xbox where things are actually coming out, and that's exciting. It's just it's been such a long time waiting. I do wonder if it can ever deliver on that hype when you really think about it. Like we have a team that has had people waiting for by 2023 when a lot of these acquisition games start hitting. 5 years, half a decade, half a decade. It's tough to land that, man.
And you best believe, just so for full clarity, if these joints don't hit, they're gonna get that work. They're gonna get the smoke, and rightfully so, because they're gonna be like, you took all this long and these joints don't hit. So they understand there's pressure involved here. This is the games industry. Like I said, I'm willing to see what's about.
I think there's pressure. And like, I mentioned earlier how I posted my Tiny Tina Wonderland review, and I'm like, I know people are going to bitch about this one. Like, I just know it. Imagine if one of these games doesn't hit. I'm thinking to myself, I gotta post that and be the guy who's like, "Yeah, this didn't work for me, man. That's gonna be a day on hell on earth for me." But I'm sure that'll be fun. All right, let's move on to number 5 here. Talk about Ubisoft. If a report from Tom Henderson is to be believed, a Ubisoft game showcase is on the way. To avoid being drowned out by the competition, Ubisoft is planning to strike ahead of the rumored digital E3. And this article comes from xfire.com, where it's a ton of information on all of these Ubisoft games, their release windows. For example, I'm going to scroll through them here. Skull and Bones is mentioned, which is apparently looking to release sometime within the next year, and it will be multiplayer first. There's Avatar, the new Avatar open world game coming from Massive Entertainment that they're also saying in this article will release within the next year. The Division Heartland is a free-to-play title that should be launching in the coming months, according to Tom Henderson. There's reports of a sequel planned for Immortals Phoenix Rising, which that is awesome to hear, because while I wasn't a crazy big fan of Phoenix Rising, I think there's a lot of ideas there that they could build off of to make that series more separate from its predecessors, like Assassin's Creed and Far Cry. They also mentioned this one that I had not heard of this, Cog. Assassin's Creed Rift, that apparently won't release until the first half of 2023. And it's simply due to the intended release schedule of Assassin's Creed Infinity, which is the next mainline title, but won't arrive until 2024 or 2025. So they got some plans for the Assassin's Creed lineup. Ghost Recon Frontline is another one that is being developed, and that has an unknown release date. X Defiant, they've dropped the Tom Clancy brand for that. They're also planning to re-reveal Prince of Persia Sands in Time Remake, which I recently went back to for a video project, Sands in Time, which is crazy because it is aged phenomenally well. But they're looking to hopefully re-reveal that. Remember that was supposed to launch at the beginning of, was it last year or was it this year? And then it's,
Sounds about right.
I think it was last year, and they let the date slip. I think it was last year. So there's that. They say that a second Prince of Persia title is reportedly in the works at Ubisoft. That's being described as an inspiration from Ori as a 2.5D game. They're working on The Crew 3. There's, of course, Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope, which is still releasing sometime in 2022, and it appears that development is going well for that.
Nice.
Roller Champions is still not out yet. I actually forgot about this one, but they're still planning to release that in 2022. Beyond Good and Evil 2. This one is interesting because they say, even in this write-up here, that the title suffered from many problems in the past couple of years, with some comments from developers to me in November 2021 suggesting the game could be canned. And they're saying don't expect to hear anything about Beyond Good and Evil 2 for some time. They don't expect to release Splinter Cell Remake until 2024. They're working on Division mobile game and other mobile games as well. And who cares about those? But a lot there, Cog. How do you feel about some of the games we're hearing about for a potential Ubisoft showcase? Anything you're excited about?
Some of them. I mean, I was, like I said, was surprised to see about the Immortal Phoenix thing. You know, Avatar, I'm curious about just to see how they handle it. I believe it's Massive on that. Skull and Bones, is that the pirate one?
Yes,
That's the Sea of Thieves equivalent, the mature one, like supposedly.
Yeah. Sea of Thieves.
Yeah, I remember that one. I'm curious about that. I love Mario Rabbids, so always good to see that continue. I thought that was very underrated with Nintendo. There's only one game here that I care about, and that's that Splinter Cell. That's that Splinter Cell, and might be a while.
You're a better man than me, Cog.
Yeah,
I'm not a believer. I'm not a believer.
I know. I'm just happy that it exists, and I want to see what happens. I'm not like. I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm just happy.
Wrong with that.
I'm happy I don't have to see Sam Fisher in a mobile game.
Yeah.
I'm tired of seeing these little spin-offs and foolishness and just literally slapping in the face of the fan base. Like 100%. I'm just tired of that. So that's why at least you got a game. So we'll see. But what about you? Any joints on here that got you hype?
Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope for sure. That is like the best shit they've put out in years, man. That game is so good. If no one's played it, XCOM meets
Yes.
Mario.
Yes.
And it does not need to be as tactical and as good as it actually is. And I actually went back again. I'm making this video on Ubisoft. I've been producing for a while, and I was playing Mario Rabbids again, and I was doing some of the Donkey Kong DLC. And even that, man, like even that, it's so good. Like the pipes you can go through, the ways arenas are built for combat. Remarkable design. Really, really good. So excited to really see more about that. And it's encouraging to hear that's on track. It seems like they really get that series. So I hope that continues on for years to come. I really, really like what they got with that one.
Yeah.
I'm excited, as I mentioned earlier, about Immortals Phoenix Rising. If anyone's checked out my review for that, seems to be a commonality. I was in the minority saying a lot of people were like, this is the Ubisoft we want. And I'm like, it's literally the same template they've done. Like it's the exact same thing, except they put puzzles in the game. That was the only thing to me that was different. But like the hack and slash combat, like it just it didn't separate itself enough for me from what Assassin's Creed was, what Watch Dogs was. You know, they just did not have its own identity as a brand new IP. This was their chance to peel off. They didn't. I'm happy to hear that there is a sequel in development and that they're going to do that, because a lot of people were worried that with the way the game sold, because Ubisoft, this was in 2020 where they went back to back to back with Phoenix Rising. They had Watch Dogs Legion and Assassin's Creed Valhalla. That's a lot of open world titles from one company. And that was because the pandemic really hurt their development timeline and they just had to get these games out. At least that was the report. They just had to get these games out. Someone was going to suffer. Phoenix Rising was the one that suffered the most, unfortunately. But it's good to hear that they believe in it enough to do a sequel on that. And for me, as someone who liked the ideas but did not like the execution of them, I am very excited to see them try again and hopefully make this series more individualized compared to the other ones that stand next to it. Otherwise, Prince of Persia. You know, I forgot how much I liked that when I put my hands on the classics. I was playing the HD trilogy, and I was like, you know, like, dude, the combat animation for this game. People go back and play Warrior Within. This game was, it's. If you really want to know how far Ubisoft has fallen, play their older games. Play Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter. Play Prince of Persia. Play some of the first Assassin's Creed games. Play some of the first Far Cry games. Look at where they were. There is a reason why they have such a dedicated fan base that loves what they do, because they were trailblazers for years. And now they've just found this one template in Assassin's Creed that worked, and that was it. And it's incredible to see how far they have fallen. Obviously, there's the whole thing about their work culture, their studio culture that had been covered last year. But when you look at their games, man, not until I started working on this project did I realize, like, wow, Ubisoft was really good. Even dating further back, they made good Batman games. One of my favorite Batman games, Batman Vengeance, came out in 2001. A next-gen, put that in quotes for its time, next-gen Batman game. Had Kevin Conroy, Mark Hamill in it, great combat, really respected the animated series art style. They made good games. They made the Naruto games that were exclusive to Xbox, Rise of a Ninja, Broken Bond. I just can't emphasize enough. Like, Ubisoft used to be really good. Really, really good. And at least in my opinion, they were. And now they're just a shell of their former selves.
A lot. The act was, you know, it's a good criticism in the sense that people feel that they fall into a template category and they haven't been able to break that. And people don't want the samey kind of vibe with a, you know, different protagonist and a different coat of paint, so to speak. So yeah, it's up to them to change that culture and get people back, because you're right, the history speaks for itself.
Bro, they're the only studio I've ever seen that when a game that's not theirs came out, they were in people's mouths. And I'm talking about Elden Ring. When Elden Ring came out, all anyone wanted to talk about was Ubisoft and like shake them awake and be like, look, you can make a great game that doesn't have a bunch of HUD markers. And you know Ubisoft, they love to follow the trends. They'll try an Elden Ring type game. I hope they do, and they learn from it and they implement that design into other games, because at least that's a little more loose, a little more. It helps establish an identity in these games. But
last point.
I'm sorry.
Last point. I was going to jump in one last point about also, like, because you said great point with Elden Ring with the hand holding and how they Ubisoft's all the HUDs and yelling. A thing for me that's encouraging, I'm hopeful, is even though I'm a Destiny guy, I thought the Division had potential. I thought that the Division was something that, especially Division 2, just died off way too early. Like, I didn't understand that, like whether it's not them listening to their community or whatever, because the systems were there. So to see them try to not give up and go back to it, I'm very curious to see how the Heartland thing and where Division moves forward. I'm very curious about that. Because I thought they were going to do the anthem and throw the towel in, it seemed. But they were like, no, content's still coming. So I'm like, okay, let's see.
Absolutely. So I'm sure that'll be announced shortly, as everything Ubisoft typically leaks. So with that, let's move on to number 6, where Microsoft has worked closely with Valve to get Xbox cloud gaming on the Steam Deck. This was done through a Microsoft Edge beta released for Steam Deck that would allow for handheld controls to work, which previously did not. I just wanted to tag this one on here, Cog, because I know we've been really fighting for Xbox to get involved with the Steam Deck. If they're not going to do their own handheld, maybe they will. How do you feel as just cloud gaming? We do have Xbox games that run natively on Steam Deck, but it's not the Game Pass app that you could just run these games natively. How are we feeling about what they're doing so far?
I predicted this, and I'm not a fan of it.
Yeah, you're too good, man. You're too good.
I know, like, listen, they like, we bought these servers for a reason, these cloud servers for a reason. We're going to use them. We'll work with you to get the cloud on, because that's what they want to promote. You know what I'm saying? I get it, but for guys like us, we come from the Vitas, the Game Boys, you know what I'm saying? Like, we come from the traditional handheld local. So I was hoping, and then you hear the horror stories if you try to put Windows on this thing. It's not even Windows 11, it's Windows 10. Then you're hearing, like, I'm a Destiny guy, and they're like, yo, if you even attempt to boot that joint, it's still, look, streaming, I will try it whenever my Steam Deck comes. Q3. Oh my god.
Oh, you got Q3.
Bro, hit me with the Q3. I'm so pissed. I was at Q2, and then I'm like, I thought I'd be good.
I got you.
All right,
keep going. I'm checking mine. Keep talking.
Yeah, I checked I was shocked to see my update on that. I was like, not the Q3. So yeah, it's gonna be a while. So right now, in a way, I'm okay, because there's nothing, that is making me jump out the window that I was like, okay, I got to have it right now. So it is what it is. So my plan right now for remote Xbox, as big as it is, I'm on my X screen tip right now. You know what I'm saying? Got my X screen. I'll be taking it to PAX or whatever. And that'll be my portable until, the Steam Deck situation goes. But in all fairness, I am going to try it. I want to see how streaming does work on it, in general. And like I said, hopefully there's a local option, So what's your queue looking like?
I'm trying to find out. They're sending me a Steam Guard email, but my phone is like breaking in real time. So like I'm just like trying to get the email.
Problems, huh?
Yeah. Look. Yeah, I will buy into the conspiracy theory that I think Apple puts like a timer in their devices, because my phone was fine. Last week I said to Laylee, I was like, I kind of want to get a new phone. It's done. It starts freezing. Nothing loads. It dies quickly. All of a sudden, I will totally 100% buy into the conspiracy that Apple just puts a timer in the device. I'm like, yep, it's time for you to get a new phone.
Time to get a new phone.
They just flip it off. Like right now, I can't load my goddamn email. So
wow.
I gotta bring it up on a separate tab, tap away on my keyboard mid podcast, like a real professional does. Because I gotta find out if my Steam Deck got delayed. Like, come on,
you gotta
now.
find out, man.
This stuff is important.
Who are you?
Yeah, when you said you were Q2 and you got pushed back, man, I'm not ready for that. I've been holding back my Trails in the Sky playthrough for this. Like, I need to know.
Devastated, man. I thought I'd be getting this. I'm like, yeah, it's coming up, right? I was patient.
We're Q2.
You Q2?
We're Q2.
All right, cool. You good. Lucky. Let me know how that works for you. I'm clearly not as high profile. Mr. Van.
I was there. It says I reserved it Friday, July 16, 2021. So that was the day that they... Which one did you pre-order?
Oh, I did the big boy.
You did the big boy too? Okay.
Super deluxe, all the trimmings,
I'm looking
all
at the
sauce.
rest here, and the standard Steam Deck and the medium one. They both say after Q3. So I thought maybe that was why, because I too pre-ordered the big boy.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, there was
Gotcha.
no way I was going half.
Yeah, there's no way. I want all the stars. I want all the
Yeah.
trimmings. If I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this.
Yeah, absolutely. The fat storage, the premium anti-glare glass.
Anti-glare screen. Got my little NVMe. Yeah, absolutely.
An exclusive virtual keyboard theme. Come on. Making me pay $100 extra for that stuff.
Had to. But that's salute to Microsoft. At least they're working with it. That's at least a positive side.
Yeah. And I hope to see more from it, but I always wonder if they're, maybe they're holding back because they're going to work on their own thing.
That's
right?
what I
always think of Steam saying that they like left the form factor there for other developers to use. I'm like, is that an open invitation? If I'm Microsoft, I'm like, do we do that? Because I would love to see these companies do Switch-like devices, all of them.
Yeah.
Like if Valve is doing it and Switch is doing it, of course, like they're the ones who invented the idea. Like, I would love to see imagine a Series S as a Switch, right? That kind of architecture in a portable device that's native for Xbox. Like, dude, come on. That's great stuff right there. We need that. We need
it. I'm with you.
Oh, don't get me started. Let's move on to Game Pass pick of the week. That's all the news we got.
Yeah, I'm going to make a quick bathroom while you talk. I'm still listening.
All right, so Game Pass pick of the week. I went with Dead Space 1. I'm just thinking of Cog like taking a piss right now. He's like, "Ooh, Dead Space 1. Tell me about this, Mr. Matty." So Dead Space 1 is what now he's like chuckling. He's probably missing the toilet a little bit. Dead Space 1 is a game I picked because I have recommended Dead Space in the past for my Game Pass pick of the week. And I'm honestly retreading ground here on this one because I've seen in my sub feed twice now these videos of very, very early prototype gameplay for the Dead Space remake, right? Like I've seen EA motives doing EA things and they're like, here's this game when it's not ready at all. And I've seen, as I'm going through the comments, as I'm watching the live chat roll on, way too many write-ins of people saying, I haven't played the original. I'm going to wait for the remake. Do not do this. Do not do this to yourselves. This is an 8 to 9 hour game. It's not a long ask, even for the hardest of working people out there. It's not a long ask. You can bang this out in a weekend if you got some spare time. It's one of the best survival horror games of all time. But I'm telling you right now, they are making changes to this. That doesn't mean it's going to be bad, but they are making changes to the original vision, and you owe it to yourself to play a game that was directly inspired by Resident Evil 4, and I think took their ideas, ran a mile with them, and created an identity based off of dismemberment, removing the limbs of your enemies. Like, it is such a unique game in that regard. But I just see too many people saying they're going to wait. This game is years and years and years off. Just put the 9 hours in, play Dead Space 1, see what you think about it, because then if you like that a lot, there's Dead Space 2 on Game Pass. Dead Space 2 is phenomenal. And I know I sound like a broken record because I definitely have gone over this in the past for probably the same exact reasons, but I see it again and again. I just want to do a call to arms for the audience. If you're on the fence, if you need a small game to play right now, a nice, tense experience, Dead Space 1. Granted, Xbox left it high and dry, probably due to the request of their good friends at EA saying, hey, we're doing the remake. You can get FPS boost on 2, on 3. That 1, we couldn't figure that one out. We couldn't
figure that one out for you.
I don't know why, but we couldn't. Sorry. And you do have to deal with that. I still think it's worth it. Please take the dive. Please do not wait for the remake. I'm not branding a remake as bad. I'm just saying we don't know. We know what it's going to be in the sense that they're changing things. They're making the protagonist voiced. Maybe that's for the better. But play it into an original vision, because I already know EA, like, more side content, all this stuff's going to leak in there. There's a sound design in the Dead Space franchise that I don't think you can just replicate easily in a remake. Like, that's a fine touch. So you owe it to yourself. Check this out. It's on Game Pass in a time where there's a lot of games coming out and they're all typically very long. This is a nice condensed experience. And I know I've mentioned this one in the past because I did a Dead Space project in the summer of last year, but I'm reminding everyone, please stop waiting, because you're going to be waiting years. You're going to be waiting years. Don't trust them. Yeah. And you're just setting yourself up for potential disappointment because you create these ideations. I know the gaming community. Play the original, know what to expect, and then go in with that knowledge to the remake, because it'll help you, I think, gauge it a lot better. Of course, there's always the newcomer take, which I think is very valuable in today's industry. Don't get me wrong. But this isn't like an open world RPG we're talking about here. We're talking a nice survival horror experience. Again, 8-9 hours. That's all. With that, we also
Fair
have
enough.
a write in here from Vonarant. Hey Dukes, Game Pass pick of the week. Maddie, you champion Xbox to support JRPGs like Lost Odyssey and Infinite Undiscovery from the 360 gen. How come no love for the recent Game Pass release, Edge of Eternity? It's a modern turn-based Final Fantasy from a small indie team. Lost Odyssey is one of my all-time favorite JRPGs, and while Edge of Eternity isn't perfect, the game is a nice addition. COG, you like XCOM, this game has you tactically placing characters on the battlefield in a grid-like system, while the battle system is akin to an action turn-based from the PS1 era Final Fantasy games. This is one I still want to check out, but what I've read on it hasn't spoken to me that much.
Same.
It just hasn't. And it looks like a game that reminds me of Biomutant, like bite off a little more than you could chew for such a small team instead of focusing on the little things, like going way too wide. That's what kind of pushed me away from it. I did read the reviews, and it wasn't a moment like with Ghostwire where I read the reviews and a lot of them were very mixed and middling. And I was like, this sounds and looks awesome. Like, I'm going to pick it up on launch day. By the time people are listening, I'll have it in hand. But that's how I was personally responding to that review. Whereas when I read the Edge of Eternity reviews, I was like, yeah, this doesn't really sound like my jam. Did it catch your eyes on a separate note while we're talking about Game Pass games?
Shout out to Vonarant. I mean, I did take a look at it because I didn't see it prior to this, and I did want to take a look at it. And I had the same vibe. Like, I don't know what it was. It just wasn't speaking to me for some reason. And I should like it. You know what I'm saying?
All right, same.
Yeah, it was just something. And then, you got the map thing. And then, I know you talk about the ATB stuff, but yeah, I just couldn't put my finger on it. And then the engine, engine was what the engine was. Kind of thing. But look, we'll see. I know it's on Game Pass. It's coming. Valorant's hold it down but for whatever reason, I just can't. It's one of them games I just can't put my finger on why I'm not connecting with it. Why I don't feel the need, like I need to like run out and go, you know what I'm saying? Get that
Yeah.
Just me.
Yeah, I mean, I play a ton of JRPGs already, so it's not like I'm being ignorant to one. Just I know my tastes, and Edge of Eternity looks like kind of a. When a JRPG is mid, it's really mid because it's because these games are built to be long, and so when they're not very good and they're that long, it hurts exponentially.
And you don't know if you're going to commit. You're going to make that live. Like, you got to love what's going on. You got to love everything about, because it's going to be a commitment. I agree with you.
It's like Monarch came out. It's from the team that made, I think their name is Fuiru. They made the Caligula Effect, which is this mental health driven JRPG. And the ideas, COG, like, I can't express enough for the Caligula Effect, are so good. They're so good, but it's the execution. And they make this game Monarch, which the scenario director of this game was the one who did Persona. Like, it just speaks to me. That game reviewed terribly because of balancing. And to me, there's nothing worse. If you've watched any of my recent reviews, the end game stuff, like with Stranger of Paradise, like that can turn me off of a game so quickly because it's all it takes is a bad number to ruin an experience. And that was one of those moments with Monarch where it apparently was a game that had a lot of cool ideas, but you had to grind senselessly. And to me, that all those ideas go out the window. So it's all it takes. And especially with a JRPG that's asking for a lot of your time. I know that's the type of audience they're going for, but I'm waiting for the day that JRPGs realize, like, we can take the westernized 20 to 30 hour RPG approach and still make something deep and engaging. There is a hybrid there that hasn't really been touched on outside of maybe like, I think triangle strategy is kind of there, but it's tactical. It's tactical RPG. Right. It's not your standard turn-based adventure.
No, good point.
All right, let's get into our final 5 questions of the show. This first one comes from Andrew M., who writes, "My fine Dukes, my father retired about a year ago, and he is getting back into the hobby that he originally introduced me to, video games. He has a decent PC, as well as a Series X with Game Pass Ultimate. He's currently playing through Skyrim, the Mass Effect Legendary Edition. He's currently on Mass Effect 2, as well as Cyberpunk, which I believe he's about halfway through. So he's doing some work right now. After he starts completing these games, I really want him to check out the Fallout games. My dilemma is this. Which one should he play first? My first Fallout was Fallout 3, but I love all of them for various reasons. Which Fallout game would you recommend to someone whose only experience with Bethesda games was Skyrim? Maddie, I'm mostly looking for your take because Lord Cog made it very clear he hates Fallout on my other write-in. Just kidding. I'd love to hear both your opinions. Cog, how are you feeling about this, man? The slander is in.
Slander. I know. Listen, man. Y'all know I love Fallout. Y'all need to stop. We were just picking between our kids. That's all that was. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But this is a good one. Salute to Dad though. Dad is out here gaming, right?
Mm-hmm. He's going hard, right? He's not taking the small tasks. He's taking Skyrim, Mass Effect 2,
Mass Effect 2,
Cyberpunk. Yeah, he's doing well.
Yeah, he's doing good out here. Which Fallout game? I'm probably gonna go 3.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to go 3. It's something about the DC, the capital wastes. You know what I'm saying? And it just, I mean, that was, it had a big impression for me. I liked the setting, and I just thought it was really good. I know, people like New Vegas is the GOAT and respectful. You know what I'm saying? It's Team Obsidian. You know how I feel about them. But I guess, I don't know, maybe for a start,
at first I agreed with you, but I'm leaning towards, as you started talking, I'm like, Fallout 4. I think.
You thinking about casualizing the man.
I mean, I'm looking at the games he's playing right now. Open world, Cyberpunk he's playing. Cyberpunk has good shooting. I think Fallout 4 has serviceable shooting. I don't know when you go back, if there's something that's going to be missing there for him. This is where we don't know him personally, Andrew. If you know your dad's taste, right, and he can get by the shooting in Fallout 3 in New Vegas, and he's more focused on the quest, the writing, the atmosphere, I would say go with Fallout 3 because I think that's just a one of the best games ever made. But if you think like your dad's a bit of a cash, right, you think he might just like the shooting, the looting, some good storytelling, some fun characters, a great open world, I'd put him on Fallout 4, honestly. It's a lot more modernized, and it does lose some of the charm, some of the role-playing decisions there. But just keep him away from 76. For the love of God, do not poison the well, right? If he has more offspring, Andrew, you have another brother out of nowhere, something like that, or a sister, you need to make sure that we're not bringing more 76 fans into the world, right? That was just a blemish on the history of gaming, and we just can't let that happen again. So please keep him away from that. Okay, that's important. But my pick would be Fallout 4 based off just not knowing him. And if he's down for the shooting not being as great and he's for more story-based decision making.
He is playing Skyrim though.
Yeah, but Skyrim's not even hardcore RPG either. That's kind of
this guy with the disrespect.
It's not. It's not. They have a streamlined. It's a great leveling system, but it's all streamlined. It's just a great open world game, and I love Skyrim. It's one of my favorite games ever. But come on, it's not Fallout 3.
This guy, you really try to do this again, I see. You really try to do.
You just need Andrew to stop writing it.
This is about the dad. This is about his dad. So I'm more restrained from this. But man, this boy going in. But listen, listen. I understand four from a streamlined experience. Yes, that could shooting is definitely better. The fighting is definitely better. I'm just saying that his dad is playing some serious stuff, so he might be okay with some hardcore stuff every now and then.
Yeah,
that's all.
If he's enjoying Mass Effect 2, but it's on the Legendary Edition, like that feels good to play.
Yes.
If feel matters to him, Fallout 4, that's my call.
I see where you're going with it. Yeah, as far as modern sensibilities, shooting mechanics, I understand where you're going with it.
But if he doesn't care about that, it's like a no-brainer. Just put him on Fallout 3. And the worst things, try Fallout 3. If he doesn't feel it for the opening hours, recommend Fallout 4. That might be the better play too, because then you can just kind of shift him and be like, it's not done yet. Because there are some people that I've met that have played Fallout 4 and they're like, I can't go back and enjoy Fallout 3 or New Vegas. And I'm like, that just sucks to hear, but they just don't play as well. And I get that.
Wow. I get that performance and stuff like that.
Okay. Let's move on to Brandon Buonacorsi, who writes in, Hi, Daisy Dukes. With the recent talk about the initiative, lots of people are quick to blame Microsoft's studio management style. While there are a lot of valid criticisms around the initiative's departure, I find it overblown to criticize Microsoft's approach. It seems to be working well for Ninja Theory, Double Fine, Playground, Coalition, Bethesda. When will the narrative around Microsoft's studio mismanagement change? Is it only after each studio releases a game developed fully under Microsoft's ownership. Hope you have a microwaved your leftover food, but it's still cold inside kind of day. Ooh. I've had that. I've had that at the office. Like I'll warm up some pasta. I'll put it in there because I have like a tiny retro looking microwave. I'll put it in there for like 4 minutes. It'll come out. I'll take a bite and be like, yo, this is still ice cold. What's going on? Throw it in for another 4 minutes. Just really overcook my pasta. It's horrible.
Yeah.
We kind of answered this one, but is there anything you really wanted to go in on beyond the release of the games as to what will change the narrative for Microsoft Studio mismanagement?
Yeah, it's literally what Brandon said, which is, people want to see where the game released under Microsoft's ownership, under their umbrella, with the resources post any project that was worked on during the acquisition or pre-acquisition. People, they don't care about that, but they care about post. And now this is developed in-house with Microsoft. Can they produce? I'm telling you, that's what the narrative is. Can they produce? It's going to get, until they do that, it's fine. But I do agree with it on what he was saying as far as the other studios. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, Obsidian is out here. Ninja Theory, Double Fine, Coalition's been holding down. No, Coalition gets no credit. People act like Coalition just like they literally had Xbox on their Black for in conjunction with Playground. So it's like, I get it. I don't fall into those narratives, but I do understand people's trepidation based on the previous generation, and it's a show me now league. It's a prove it to me.
It is.
You know what I'm saying?
It is.
Yeah, so and I get it.
Yeah. I don't think I have anything to add on because we did talk about this a lot earlier, but also, I think it's just about show us what you got.
Yeah, that's it.
Because a lot of these studios are also, like in the case of, not a lot of them, but like Bethesda, they're self-managed, right? Like they're pretty independent, where Microsoft's providing funding, it seems like, and assistance where they can, but they're not invading Bethesda and changing the structure of things. So in some ways, I think the narrative around Microsoft is kind of letting these studios manage themselves, because even ones they own, 343, The Initiative, they'll kind of let them spiral themselves into the ground first before ever coming in and cracking the whip and be like, let's get into shape here. Like, what's going on? Let's figure it out. Right. So I think, again, the proof will be with the end product, but what we've learned through this episode with Moon Studios beyond the product is the people. And it's like, we saw in the Initiative report that some people are very surprised, like Microsoft's just kind of letting this thing go and go and go, and they're not as hands-on, which is good, but you have to be involved. So I think it'll be a while before we actually know, before it comes to light, where even the games, there's a story behind each game, right? And how it's made and the environment it's made in, where I think that will also be a telling sign of Microsoft studio management. Like, we haven't heard much about, actually, no, there was a big story on Naughty Dog, but PlayStation, mostly, we haven't heard much on either. So I do think the end product will define it for the majority of folks out there. All right. Let's talk to Matt without fear. Not me, certainly. Hi, Dukes. Well, after a few false starts, we're finally here. The first ever live action ongoing Halo series. I know we've had Forward Unto Dawn and Nightfall, but those were just sideshows. This is a new one on Paramount Plus, and it's the first live action show to just focus on the Chief. I've been hyped since the first trailer, and even though the early reactions have been middling, I'm remaining optimistic, as those were only based on a couple of episodes. I don't even care that it's telling its own story, as shows like The Boys have already proved to me that you can make a great TV show without it being a one-to-one retelling of the source material. However, I am curious as how they'll portray the Chief and elevate him when he's surrounded by other Spartans right from the start. In the early games, he was portrayed as the last Spartan and humanity's only hope against the Covenant threat. Then, by the team, we see him alongside other Spartans. He's the iconic hero who saved the universe. Here, though, we're finding him at the start of his journey, and I'm excited to see how they make him stand out and turn into Earth's mightiest champion. What are your hype levels for this show? Are you excited, or have those early previews got you worried? Thanks for all the great content, and they just launched a new show for your favorite IP, but put it on a streaming service that isn't available in your country yet. Kinda day.
Ooh, yo,
best of luck with that, Matt.
Yeah. Damn, man, hurts. I feel you. That hurts. Yeah, man. Definitely, this is something COG is interested in, and may have more to report on after. By the time this launches, you know what I'm saying? Maddie knows what I'm talking about.
Yes.
But yeah, man. Look, I am excited. Usually these type of things, I'll be honest, always have the potential for disaster.
Yes.
Disaster. Like, yo, they go. But I will say, look, were there some things I was a little concerned about? Yeah, you know what I'm saying? But I just thought they nailed the look of the Spartans. I thought they nailed the feel of the Covenant, the size, how menacing they are. You know, I just thought the backdrops, the scenery really felt Halo-y. You know what I'm saying? Like, I really got the sense, the iconic warthog, all that stuff. Now, there's some controversy. You know, it's a big part of the community that's like, yo, we not with this potentially his helmet coming off. That's a big thing. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people like, yo, part of the allure was not knowing and seeing that face, and he was your hero kind of thing. So that's a big responsibility on them, how they gonna handle that. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people are pushing back. The only thing that I want to say concerns me, that made me raise my eyebrow, because I'm willing to give it a shot, is when they spoke to the directors and they were like, "Yeah, we didn't play the games. We ain't play that, and we doing this." Yep. And I don't know if that was misquoted. I don't know where the thought process of why you would say that. You know, then there's the source material thing. Is it going one-to-one, or it seems to be doing its own thing? That part I'm not too hard on, because sometimes it's like you can tell an original story that doesn't have to be canon 1,000%. As long as you got the core tenets and the essence, okay, and it's going to be a series. But I will say my eyebrows did raise when I heard, yeah, we don't really, you know what I'm saying, play the games no more. Like, I forgot what the exact word, I don't want to misquote, but it was something to that effect, like, yeah, we didn't really, we didn't play the games, and that didn't rub the community right. So it's on them. The thing about this, it looks good for the most part. You can nitpick here and there, but it looked overall, it's probably the best looking. When they jumped out, did you see trailer 2? When they jumped out from the sky,
the first one, where like they had the Jeep in the background, and people are like, "Oh, bro,
trailer 2 looked way better." Then you see your man Sergeant John. I seen a lot of stuff, and I'm like, okay. You know what I'm saying? So I'm hopeful. We'll see. What about you?
Yeah, I was one of the few people who thought it looked pretty good from the outset. Like, I get where people are coming from with like how Cortana looked. I understand that was kind of jarring for people, but I said this in an old Defining Duke, but to me, I'm like, Cortana's changed her appearance like 3 times in the games. Like, it's just, to me, another version of her. Like, it's cool that they got Jen Taylor. For me, what really stood out was that's hard to shake off is I don't know if you saw the video I quoted on Twitter of the Chief sounding like the dude from the 5 Gum commercials, but man, when I heard that, I was like, that sounds identical, and you just wonder if there was ever a possibility they could have brought in Downs to do the voice with the helmet staying on.
Give you that.
I get what they were going for, but this is where, if it's true that they didn't play the games, that they don't recognize how iconic it is to get the voice right. And when he's kind of talking like this, like, I've gotten into the cave, and now I'm just like, dude, he's not this like bro man.
Yeah. I feel you. The voice did hit me. Yeah. The voice hit me. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie to you.
It's something I can adjust to if it's kind of campy. It's like, okay, it's a little charming because it's flawed. But I'm kind of expecting imperfection. Because since they didn't play the games, it's not going to be like a love letter, right? It's not going to say, this is our chance to, they played the games, they looked at the storylines and said, now we'll explore this over here, and respect what was in those games. It seems like they'll walk over the games if they got to. And that could be interesting. Yeah, I hope not too. That could be interesting, especially like Matt mentioned here, the perspective of Chief starting off with the Spartans around him. Like, okay, cool. Kind of like that, right? Because that's one thing that Halo 5 just kind of randomly drops in there, is like, what's up, blue team? Like we've been boys for a while, right? And you learn a little bit more about it in audio tapes and Infinite. And I'm like, and there were books that they really heavily leaned on at 343. That, again, you understand where it was coming from, but it just felt out of nowhere. So that's where I think the show can thrive as a Halo fan. But otherwise, I'm not expecting that much. I'm not a TV critic. I very much am a mindless casual with that stuff, where it's not like I just stare at the screen blankly, but like the main form of TV consumption for me is anime and AEW. Like that, I don't sit down and watch crime shows anymore. I don't watch Inception or whatever popular movies hitting off at the theaters. Like if it's comic books, I'm there. But like
Yeah,
I'm
sure.
very much a casual. So you can typically only get me through the door when it's tied to gaming or it's tied to anime. Like that's what I'm all about. Like I don't care about these other things. I already consume enough media as it is. I play a ton of video games. So again, I'm not probably the best read for this, Matt. I always try to remain transparent on that. It's why you'll never see me make a YouTube channel like, let's review movies and anime. Like, no, you don't want to hear my takes on any of these things. Like, I think the Lego movie is one of the best movies ever made. Like, that's all you need to hear. That's all you need to hear, right? Hype levels not really high, but I don't care about the previews because I know my opinion isn't. I'm not as like how I view games, right? I'm very, I break it down piece by piece. I don't really have that approach with shows, and I think it's to let me just have something that I don't have to be almost scientific about. I can just enjoy it.
And I think my perspective would be different as a result, because as much as I love Halo and everything about it, I'm not this hardcore Halo lore historian. I've never been that. I know the basics. I know, so I think it's going to be interesting to see if they win me over, because I probably might be the target audience or the person who knows of the series but doesn't know all the intricacies with the lore. Yeah. So that's going to be interesting to see if they tell a good story. We'll see. I think they got renewed for season 2 already, but we'll see.
They did get renewed for season 2 already, so they're confident whatever they got here, or they're trying to get Paramount on a cheap deal. One of the two. We'll see. I'm curious to see if any numbers pick up, because this is like our first big launch of something. I want to see if the numbers pick up on the Halo front because of
good point.
Because of this.
Because of that's a good point. I didn't think about that.
I'm wondering if it'll happen, but I think is Paramount dropping all the episodes at once, or it's weekly, right?
That's a good question. If they're doing just the one episode, they doing the week to week. How they doing it? You know what I'm saying? That's a good question.
Hold on, dropping week. I think they're dropping them one by one.
One by one, yeah. I probably would do that extended.
The first 2 episodes of Halo will drop Thursday, March 24th. Let's see here. Where is it? That was just like a preview of it all. How to watch. I love these websites that make like how to watch TV shows. I'm like, God, like why? I guess for idiots like me right now. But yeah, it says, okay, March 24th is episodes 1 and 2. And then it's on a weekly cadence up until May 12th with episode 9.
Okay.
So very, very interesting to see them handle it this way. Because I wonder if the whole episode dump would be good for kind of to replicate the Witcher effect. But we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
Let's move on to Sean Mason, who writes in, "Hey, Duke boys, despite Elden Ring staring at me, I haven't been able to stop playing Tunic. The art style is charming, while the gameplay is addictive. I'm enamored in the world Andrew Schuldice has created. The puzzles are a perfect combination of creativity and difficulty. During my time playing, I've kept a notebook to decipher the unique language of the game. This is the first game in a year that has actually truly captured me. After playing Horizon Forbidden West, I didn't think any game would top it, but Tunic has done just that. It's blown away all my expectations. What's a game in your life that's completely blew away the expectations you had for it? Best, Sean and P.S. Can't wait to see you both at PAX East. Indeed.
Yes. Pull up, Sean. Yes. Pull up, man. Good dude. We met him before at the LSM, so it'd be cool. See, man, good guy, man. He's very, 100%. Very cool. Yeah, shout out to him with Tunic. I definitely hear the connection there. What is a game that in your life that completely blew away the expectations you had for it?
I know when you download and play, it's going to be Elden Ring, because that's mine.
Oh, God, yeah, Saturday. It's going down.
Have fun.
It's going down. The community has demanded it. So we're doing that. That's a hard one.
I saw Bill, on a separate note, real quick, I saw Bill Stillwell going for you and saying that you got to download it and play it. Just, dude, God, you're committing a crime here.
Bro, the entire gaming community has rallied against me because I was like,
that's a rare thing too.
Not playing it. They were like, no, you have to play it. I'm like, all right, cool. But everybody come Jason Rod. I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. Anyway, it will happen, as of this recording, it should have already happened. So we'll leave it at that. But yeah, I'm trying. The question is interesting, Sean, because it's like, the game in my life that completely blew away the expectations I have for it. So I guess being that I came in with lower expectations, or not to be blown away. Like, I guess my question is, how do you frame that? Because there's games that I played and I'm like, games that I was anticipating. I'm like, yo, oh my God, that hit. And then there were games that I'm like, yo, I didn't expect to love it the way I love it. And I will, you know what? Shout out to the cargo bot. I will give one of your games that we argue about credit.
Oh, hold on.
I will give for Fallout series that,
Oh.
because I heard the hype about it and I was just like, all right. And I'm gonna be honest, when I first saw, like, I don't know, it just didn't preview well to me. I don't know. It was like a lot of, because it's the waste, it's greens and browns, and that's what you're gonna get in the nuclear waste. So the palette never appealed to me. And I remember, matter of fact, it was Fallout, because I remember seeing it and I was like, this don't even look that good. Like, why are people going crazy about this? Right. And then I started it, you come and walk out the vault, you have the iconic moment. I mean, even from the start of the screen, the Fallout music is fire. You know what I'm saying? Like, I love that. It was very ominous. Yes. It's deep, right? But you come out the thing, the vault, and then you start moving around. And when it hit me, I remember it was like exploring the waste, seeing one of the very powerful things, or the ghouls and stuff, and then the VATS kicked in. And I'm like, oh, okay, I can talk, I can control this, you know what I'm saying? And then the questing and special was really cool. You know what I'm saying? Doing your little attributes. All right, I'm gonna put here, I'm gonna put this. Like, yeah, it was a thing. It was a thing. So I gotta say, coming into it, I remember I was kind of a Fallout, I don't say hater, but I didn't understand what the thing was. And yeah, it was definitely that. And I think it was around the time Destiny came out. I remember it was a big thing. But yeah, man, salute. Fallout. What about you?
I hate to pick the easy answer, but I have to pick Elden Ring, because that was a game that I had expectations of, like, this will be great, right? I remember when I previewed it, I already had the feeling of like, yeah, this is going to be a good game for sure. Like, there's just no doubt about it. But how good will it be? And the fact that I walked away saying like, yeah, this is just one of the greatest games of the generation, like, easily.
Yeah, it's huge.
Adoring it to the point where I put 100+ hours into it. And as I'm reviewing other games, I get that itch, like, man, kind of want to finish up Journey 2 right now. Just run through some bosses. Like, I want to explore that world more. That is a level of expectations that I think that have been blown away. That is new to me. Like, of course, I always talk about Fallout. I came in, I hated it. I came back, I fell in love with this. My favorite series. We've heard that story before, but for me with Elden Ring, it's just a moment of like, I go into reviews pretty neutral typically. It's very rare I go into a review like I did with Elden Ring, where I'm expecting greatness. Like, I mostly go in as neutral and as flat as possible, because I think that's just the fairest way to get a score out. Like, just, not having your expectations be let down, just going in like I went with Tiny Tina, with Stranger's Paradise. Is like, there could be a hidden gem here. There could be something truly great here. And that, I'm sure a lot of people who review games know I'm talking about, where when you fire it up, that hope of, in the initial hours, like, is this the start of something truly great? Have I found a feeling of discovery? Have I found a hidden gem that I can use my platform to tell people about, right? And when you get that moment of delivery, it's like, this is that. It's an incredible feeling. And I feel like with Elden Ring, it was a rare moment where I went into a review not flat, but like, okay, I'm feeling really good about this one, right? If it wasn't for that preview, I probably would have went in the same way. But I went in going like, this should be a great game, a great experience. But to walk away going like, generational, built different, industry changing, expectations shattered. It's been a while since I've had something like that. So for me, Elden Ring is 100% that. I've definitely had a number of surprises, a number of hidden gems, pleasant surprises. I think of Neo: The World Ends With You, where I'm like, Square Enix, what happened? Like why didn't you market this? For sure. But I do think Elden Ring's the one that really answers Sean's question best. Like, it just, high expectations that got blown away anyway.
No doubt. Good choice.
Last question of the episode goes to the Rogue. Hi, Dukes. I was just thinking about Blizzard games, and it hit me that I've never really played any of their games, partially because I never had a PC. For some reason, I still associate them with quality, and I'm excited for all of them to come to Game Pass. What are your thoughts on their big franchises? Your history, hope for a sequel, games that should still check out in 2023, such as Diablo, World of Warcraft, Overwatch, Hearthstone, StarCraft, and Heroes of the Storm. Take it easy. Thank you, Rogue, for writing in.
Salute, bro.
Yeah,
Yeah, man.
this is a plethora of exciting titles. Which one are
Yeah.
you most excited for Xbox to wrap up, expand upon, maybe have added to Game Pass? Because I don't think we've ever really talked about it on like a specific game front. What we're excited about, we're always talking about the business side, the exclusives, the deals, the meaning of what will be added to Game Pass. But we never talked on an excitement level what we're personally looking forward to being expanded upon. We talk about the dead games, right, more than we talk about the active
Yeah.
ones. So
Yeah, that's a good one.
go for it, man. What are you looking forward to in their big franchises that do exist now?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big Diablo fan. I
Mhm.
like Diablo. So I can't wait. I can't wait for the new one, 4. And then also, like I said, to get everything else into Game Pass. I think that's big. But from a game standpoint, cooperative, loot, you know what I'm saying? I like the challenge. I always felt it was a fun series. WoW interests me only because, I mean, I'm still a Destiny fan, but everyone tells me, wow, 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 kind of thing. So I am curious to see if they do a console port. Probably not, but, you know, just the fact that it would be in there. And look, shout out to you mentioned Bill. He's a huge Overwatch fan. And Overwatch is something that it's one of the most balanced, fun shooters going. So I want to see the direction there. Which one is the MOBA? I think Heroes of the Storm is the MOBA, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I've never played a MOBA before.
Oh.
I've never played a MOBA before.
Oh.
So that will be interesting. You know what I'm saying? On that. So those are the ones that I'm probably like, okay, now that you in the ecosystem, you might as well, see what's going on.
There's
it's free.
There's no higher learning curve than a MOBA. So if you do dive into Heroes of the Storm, good luck. I'm just letting you know, I'm preparing you because I don't know a single person in my life that's hopping to. I played a ton of League. I've played a ton of Smite. You just hop in and you're good at it. You're never immediately good at a MOBA. The good news is once you get good, then those skills can transfer to other games. But like for me, I put like 1,000+ hours into Smite and then went to League. And even then, man, you got to learn again because it's a different perspective, different control scheme. But that is my kryptonite as a genre. Like if I don't want to finish any games, I will play MOBAs, and it's dangerous, man. It's really dangerous.
Yeah. What about you, man? What about the Blizzard's lineup games? What about the games? Which one's got you?
Overwatch.
Oh,
yeah,
yes.
man. I was big on Overwatch when it came out for a year straight. That was the multiplayer game for me. 500+ hours in it, and I really loved it. Played it on PlayStation, made friends through it. Getting the whole squad together, playing competitive. Some of my favorite multiplayer memories, man. Just a lot of good times in Overwatch, and a lot of time spent. And as they continued to patch the game and make it worse, myself and many others that fell off of it. And I'm just excited to see, hopefully with Overwatch 2 and now the way they're breaking up the releases, I'm crossing my fingers that maybe it can be reinvigorated for me. And that with Microsoft eventually behind this IP, that they can help breathe some new life into it. Because when you look at the last hero they got, I think it's been over a year or two since they got a new hero. And I'm like, that's a hero shooter. Like that is the content. It's not even the maps. It's the person you're playing as. And I remember like when I was in on it, man, it was just, they were rolling with modes, seasonal events, content galore, new characters to play as. It was awesome, dude. It was so good. And I just want them to get back to that cadence with Overwatch. I feel like they've gotten swept up with trying to fix the game that was working just fine. They killed the competitive scene to some extent. I just want to see that game return to the glory that it deserves, because they really popularized the hero shooter genre. They really did. And I think it deserves a better fate. And so, one of the things that sucks is because they're splitting up this release now, I think when they finally get a single player component out for Overwatch 2,
yes, please.
Almost like a too little too late in my eyes, but like maybe it's great. I don't know. We'll see.
No, I need that. I'm with you, bro.
Yeah. But otherwise, the rest, Diablo, that's going to be thriving on Xbox with Game Pass for sure. Day one Game Pass co-op. Yeah, that's huge. That's a great play for them. So a lot of good stuff on the way for sure, but definitely most excited about Overwatch. So with that, Cog, that's all we got for this week's episode. was a good one, as
Yes,
always.
sir. Yes, sir.
You got a hashtag in mind?
I don't, because it was like we were all over the place. There's so many things, man. Obviously the Moon stuff was good. The Fable stuff was good. Man, we were all over the place. It was so much. It was like a lot of varied topics.
We didn't stay on anything for too long when you really
like it was. We were kind of. I'm gonna lean on you on this one.
Oh man.
Yeah, I'm kind of like. I don't know. We did we had the J Raymond thing. We had Cyberpunk.
Maybe we do. Yeah, I got a good idea here, Cog. It might be a little dismissive. You can check me if it is like IDK Like I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know, because it was just like we was all over the place.
Yeah, I just scrolled through a whole script. I'm like, we didn't really sit on anything for more than like 15, 20 minutes. Like nothing was really a highlight. Just a cog in the wheel, if you will, a cog in the gear, right? You're just another episode for our lovely listeners.
Yes,
nothing special. So IDKDD. Use the hashtag. Yeah. I'm at G27status on Twitter. That is at Lord Cognito. You can tag us there. Let us know your thoughts on the episode. If you don't got social media, that's fine. Post it in the Patreon comments, the YouTube comments. Let us know what you thought of the episode. Again, hashtag IDKDD. With that, Cog, any closing thoughts, or shall we wrap this one up?
Let's wrap it up. Another exciting Dukes. A lot of different issues going on, man. But like I said, a lot of stuff I want to monitor. So this is another good one we got in the books, man.
Absolutely. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, take great care of yourselves. And we'll see you next week for episode 65 of Defining Duke. Peace out.
Peace.
Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast, is a product and trademark of Last Stand Media and Collins Last Stand LLC, and is recorded from the United States of America. The show is conceived by Matthew Mr. Matty Plays Schroeder and me, Colin Moriarty, and is written and produced by Matthew Schroeder. Matty's co-host is Barry Lord Cognito Eversley. Defining Duke's executive producer is Dustin Furman, and the show is edited by associate producer Ben Smith. All of Last Stand's theme music is by Ramon Narvaez. As you know, all of Last Stand Media's shows, including Defining Duke, are fan-funded on Patreon at patreon.com/laststandmedia. The following names are at the producer support level on Patreon, and we're thankful for your kindness and generosity.